What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday and welcome to the beginning of the season here for Series E Apex Legends. We're kicking off Season 6. It is insane to think about it. My 5th season now here at Series E, and crazy to think what it's come from, the humble beginnings to now everything that Series E has become here at Esports Arena, and it's so exciting to kick it off with all of you here today. Of course, it's pro night, so we got our 5 squads coming out this season to compete against some of the best pros from all across North America, and I can't wait to get into the fun. Now, for those of you that may be new here, of course, it's the first day of the season. I just want to break down a little bit of how things work here at Series E. Now, Series E is a professional esports open circuit that absolutely anyone can join across multiple different titles. Of course, we've got Guilty Gear Strive, the new Multiverses, and then Apex Legends that we've got here today. Now, the way it works is players and teams come out, they compete in our open qualifiers, and the best of the best make it into Series E. Now, what does that mean for them? Well, players will get the opportunity to sign a contract. They'll sign with one of our partnered brands. They will earn a monthly salary, and they'll get to compete weekly for points and prize money. In Apex Legends, it's every Wednesday night here against some of the best pros from all across North America. Now, if you and your friends want to get in on the fun, check more information out over at esportsarena.com. Now, as we come back here into the studio, of course, we're looking forward to a brand new season here. We crowned our new champions, Team Nerf. You can see their jersey here behind me today. They will be representing a new brand this season, especially if you saw draft day a couple of weeks ago prior to our Thanksgiving break. 5 squads returning this season. 5 teams that competed last season as well. So a lot of faces that you may recognize. Some with a few roster adjustments. Of course, Nerf, now Team Aegon with a new player. We've seen some big moves with the former Excedrin squad, now representing Tyson. All kinds of big storylines within these teams and within the circuit. And of course, some big, fresh faces competing here tonight. So look forward to that, and I'm super excited. We've got 6 games ahead of us tonight, split between World's Edge and Stormpoint, and I've got a couple of very good friends that'll be covering all of the action for you, my friends. Adia and T Squared will be bringing you the cast all throughout the night, and I'll be here to break things down in between. We'll be checking out some replays, looking at the leaderboard, and all that fun stuff. But let's not waste any more time. We're ready to kick off a brand new season here of Series E Apex Legends, and it starts right now.
Almost big Matt Pickett vibes from back in early seasons of Series E. Now Sleepon taking a lot of damage, and man,
The shots are starting to connect with what he does, and they're going down Sung, making the thing sang right there.
as he hopped back on with Nerf. Nerf looking like they want to close in another fight. Forsey with the shots, and goodbye to
So on this doorway and those windows, and they should be able to fight it out. Meanwhile, Intel getting into another battle, clear way across the map. Intel
Mike
breaking.
and Knight are getting aggressive. They got the first knock. Actually, Z Davis once again with that charge rifle, but Bronzy.
No eccentric from above as well. So
you see what Excedrin's up to. They're making the flank on down below. Touch E1, put it on coming through. Now it's a 2-on-2 situation. Maybe a 2-on-1. It is a 2-on-1.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, T Squared, to what is going to be an incredible night because it is the first one of the new season as we break down what is to be Season 6 of Series E. T Squared, I'm excited to make our return once more and to get to see these players, these teams, really, well, change our perception of them as they change, as Yesa was alluding to in the pre-show, the rosters that they represent coming into the season.
I'm excited. Another reason I'm excited, Dia, casting with you, and we look like the comfiest duo in all of esports right now. I got the cardigan going on. You got your fuzzy thing going on over there too. I mean, just look at us. Swag on swag on swag. It's so awesome to kick off Series E with you. It's going to be so much fun. It's a stacked lobby. We didn't have our open night yesterday. We got our pro night today. It's going to be the best of the best here. Yeso broke down the changes for us. We had a little bit of a mini update. No one knows what that update was, but we'll find out soon.
Yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere for a lot of people, but as a lot of it impacts Catalyst in the new season, I'm figuring that if anyone, CLG will be the people that really capitalize on that, since they are the team that has been running Catalyst. And as I give us a little bit of a teaser for what teams are going to be playing today, it's worth us talking a little bit about how today's going to run down. Because for those of you who may not have watched Series E in the past, first of all, welcome. Second of all, we're going to be playing 6 games today. The first 3 will be on World's Edge, the second 3 on Stormpoint, and we'll be using your standard ALGS scoring system, with first place getting 12 points for their placement, second 9, third 7th. You can read the rest of them, but there's one really important way to get kills that I always like to point out to you, Square. Do you know how else you can get more points?
By winning. By winning with lots of kills. That's the key.
Yes, kills are absolutely, I want to say the most important. They're not the most important. A lot of people have been playing Zone recently, but they're pretty darn important, and they can take you from a first place with 12 points to a first place with 25, 30 points. We've seen some crazy finishes in Series E and beyond. Of course, the winners from today will be walking away with a decent chunk of prizing as well. First place walking away with the $1,200, second with $600, and third place with an additional $200. I want to take a moment and look at who can walk away with those prizes, since we did get to talk about it a little bit earlier. Let's see the rosters competing in today's first pro night of the season.
Yeah, and if you're unfamiliar with what type of teams show up here on the pro night, well, get familiar. All of the heavy hitters, TSM, you got Nick Mercs and Tripods in here. The guard is in here. Keon's killed me maybe 3 times in rank today. Not too stoked about that. Tech's been fitting in well with Sentinels. NRG's been a little bit inconsistent, but I know they're upset about the data mining stuff, so I'm expecting Sweet to come out swinging. You got LG, Team Liquid, one of our most consistent teams in North America. G2, Chaotic, an absolute beast when you have the 3 roller players with Designful and Resulta. FaZe, the return of Snipe Down. DZ coming back on over from Australia to North America with their new coach. PvP, that's going to be fun to watch. Complexity's been playing aggressive. It's got Monsoon on Watson, really fun to watch. CLG always kind of tweaking things and trying to find out what's going to be the meta for them. C9, absolute slayers. 100 Thieves, you know what they're going to be playing, Newcastle and Watson. And then you have our partnered teams, and Yeso touched base on this a little bit earlier. But these are teams that fought through qualifications just like you could to get partnered, to have a salary, to have an opportunity to practice every single week and set the foundation for what's going on in competitive Apex. That's going to be Razor, Mike and Ike, Intel, Tyson, Aegon by AOC. Congratulations to them. And then ESA, a really nasty team. Phony, Capra, and Luda. Always got to watch out for them.
I mean, especially now that they've swapped it up and brought Luda in. I remember as soon as this roster changed, as soon as Fury, went their separate ways from the rest of Esports Arena, watching Luda be slotted in changed the identity of this team from one that was slow and controlled to one that has, I dare say, a lot of 3v3 scariness in them, because now they have these 2 very young, very mechanically talented players that really can take fights on their own. It's up to Phony to sort of spearhead this attempt as they move into our first pro night, but they're not the only squad that you touched on that I really wanted to give a shout out to. One other team that I'll be watching, our partnered squad, Mike and Ike, blew me away last season, especially since they came in halfway through and ended up making it very close to the top of the leaderboards, Tom.
And I believe MJ was our season MVP last season for Series Z. Really nasty player. He's going to be playing on Horizon. Definitely someone to continue to look out for. That's a great call, Dia. In terms of our pro teams, who do you have your eye on?
Ooh, you know what? You called them out a little bit earlier. Our triple rollers, G2. After their performance in the qualifiers for Oversight yesterday, really impressed me. And NRG right next to them, as much as I can appreciate that they've been inconsistent this season, the fact that they caught 2 wins on this game Sunday for ALGS did not slip past me. Those 2 wins are definitely what's going to be keeping the copium flowing as I move into today's games.
I'm going to be watching out for Liquid and Tripods, 2 teams right next to each other. One is, can Liquid remain consistent? And 2, can Tripods continue to kind of climb, right? They started off a little bit slow once they got into the Pro League. They've been fighting their way through. We've seen some great improvements. I've been impressed with Nick Merckx and his communication. A lot of little things, when you listen to Nick Merckx communicate to his team, you don't see a lot of other players do. He says, okay, I hear you. He's giving an input. He's taking input. That goes back to his Gears of War roots. He's a very disciplined player in terms of the way that he streamlines the communication. And I guarantee he's taught Deeds and Gent a lot about how to keep those vibes up high so they never get too down on themselves. I think that's great for them because, hey, they never really had high expectations by anyone else. I'm sure they did for themselves. So I'm looking forward to how they're going to do. Plus, you got the guard right above Tripods, and you know they've been killing it in ranked, right? You have Rambo, who is #1 Predator until his Watson took that over, and they've been consistently towards the top as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Guard have really impressed me with their zone play. I think this is a very different team from what we saw last split, despite the fact that their roster does remain largely the same. Their actual styles, their communication, their trust have taken a level up, much like I've seen Tripods do this season as well. You were calling it out, but the way that Nick has really managed the communication, the way that those vibes have been kept positive, I think is mirrored in the narrative of the Guard from this season. While we're looking at them, of course, I do have to admit to everyone in the audience, I am a little bit of a Guard fan, so I'm going to be trying to, keep the hype reasonable for them without going crazy whenever they get a one clip somewhere, because it will happen.
Caster bias, wow.
Yeah, exactly. I have to own up to it beforehand or I'll get called out in the game. CLG, I will say, I'm also a little bit of a fan of, especially because of the way that they differentiate themselves from the rest of the lobby. I am expecting that they will run Catalyst today, but CLG, whether they do or not, are a team that throughout their run through the ALGS has been very prone to experimentation. They want to try new things. They want to switch up their style frequently. And I think that this season, they're getting a lot more value out of it than they did last.
It's all right. We won't show it on camera because my camera's not working, but I'm wearing my FaZe boxer briefs, and I know that Yeso loves his C9 pants that he has. So we're all fans here of all of these teams, realistically. I mean, we each get an opportunity to get some ESA swag and throw some jerseys in there. I know I got some of these jerseys that we see on our screen, especially that Intel one that fits me really well. Love those hockey jerseys coming in from ESA. We're getting the players into the lobby here very shortly. We're kicking it off. We got 3 games on World's Edge, 3 games on Stormpoint. Let's continue to talk about some more of these teams and what we can expect. Now, we're looking at 100 Thieves, and they're right underneath Tyson, our partnered squad. And that has been a team that, again, has had a lot of success. They've been one of the teams that also is setting the meta with that Newcastle and Watson. Other teams are taking that into consideration, like Complexity. So it's really fun to watch. What exactly is going to be your squad? Are you going to have that Seer, Horizon, Velk? A lot of times you are going to continue to have Velk because you need to get through your rotations in extremely tough spots. But if you're new to Series E Pro Night, expect this to play out very similar to your major tournaments here, because that's exactly what these teams and players are practicing for. They're already trying to get a share of that $2,000. Now, you are going to see a decent amount of fights taking place, but that's not going to happen till usually zone number 4 and 5. Maybe a 50-50 here and there, but typically it's a little bit slow, right? It's like a scrim lobby, but with money on the line, and people will take this extremely seriously in terms of how they're going to go about taking their fights. You got to be methodical. If you are taking a fight, it has to be one that's either secluded or one that you need to fight for positioning.
Absolutely, and I mean, one of the things that you're highlighting here that I think is going to go underrated by a lot of other people is that this sort of conservative playstyle, fighting towards zone 4, 5, and beyond, isn't something that even really has been prominent in the pro meta up until recently. We started off last year, we go back 365 days, and we'll go, yes, this is a very conservative region. North America likes to wait until those final zones and then start to frag out. We get all the way to champs, and suddenly Furia frag out the whole time, and that's the meta for months. And it's just now, T-Squared, that we're starting to pull back a little bit, that you're seeing these teams prioritize zone even more so, and so many of the squads that we see here today, whether we think they're consistent, whether they're making those end games all the time or not, are still going to be going on those early rotates, are going to be prioritizing beacons and trying desperately to put themselves in a good spot for those, like you say, zones 4 and 5.
No doubt about it. And there's a lot of layers that happen in terms of Apex strategy. And whether you're new to competitive Apex or accustomed to seeing a lot of these lobbies play out, you're in for an absolute treat, because you're going to see parts of the map that as a casual player, you never really consider a spot that a pro team would go and hold to try to win money, whether it's a little crevice of a building or a rock that you just hold and just fight your way through that positioning, or maybe a little gulch or a gully inside of the map too. These players think a little bit differently. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to see some great shots. There's going to be great communication across the board. Got some legends in the chat as well. What's up, Kimchi Lee? I also saw a question asking, is Panders playing with Sentinels? Is that a typo or it's real? We'll get confirmation, but most likely what's happening is Panders is filling in for a player on Sentinels that can't be here today, and that's most likely what is happening. We're getting game one started here very shortly, so we're about to find out. Now, in terms of other teams, especially our partnered teams, another team to look out for that kind of struggled to keep their spot that I want to have an eye on for a different reason is Team Intel. Now, these are great players. When you get them together, they really shine, but they seem to slow down a little bit and just barely hold on to their spot, Dia.
It's true, and I'll be honest, I've been following Team Intel for a while. Before these three players were grouped up under this name, they were playing under another, Gas Station Gaming, and at the time, I remember thinking, Gas Station Gaming, we're sitting here in what was, at the time, Tier 2 Apex Legends, so they weren't quite here on the Pro Nights yet. They were working on themselves, and throughout the course of last split, when we got to see this team picked up and really move into these more, I want to say, high-pressure, high-skill lobbies, we got to see them really take a step up in terms of what it meant to play against these really well-paced teams. I'm hoping that journey's continued going into this split. We'll find out. We're going to take a short break, make sure that we get all our players into the lobby, and then we'll be right back.
I'll be loading up, they wanna package this. Pray for peace, pacifist, I'm never old enough to give a
When the chicken is this crispy and this tasty, it doesn't matter what else is for dinner. Tyson Crispy Strips are so delicious, they'll be your favorite part of every meal. More crispy chicken, more family faves, more to love. Tyson.
Welcome back, folks. We are loaded up and ready to go as our esports arena sitting all the way in countdown right now at the start of game number 1. We haven't missed too much just yet. 59 folks still alive. And actually one person gone, but we're looking to make that a few more as esports arena already taking a fight again in countdown right now. How a nice angle is Boney round the corner with that Mastiff and gets taken down. It's Team Intel that they're fighting up against, and we are starting things off for a battle of titles. The literal team esports arena is going to be taken down by Intel as they clamor for supremacy in Series E.
That's how you do it. That's how you start things off here in Series E. Duking it out, battling it out. And the zone moves very quickly, remember. So we got to make sure that whenever you take a 50-50 or you take a quick fight early game, you got to get moving. Now you can see the shots. Oh, my gosh. What would I do for those type of shots coming in from zero? There's a reason why these guys have won back-to-back lands.
Amazed that they haven't actually found a knock just yet. Dark Zero arriving at what looked like the perfect time for a third party, but weren't quite able to finish the kills just yet. Now Zero's eating shots right back, and despite the fact that the 301 rings true throughout the lobby, it still doesn't find a knock, and Dark Zero are going to play this one a little bit more passively, sitting back here and making sure that, yes, while they're playing aggressive, while they're looking for these third parties, they're not overextending, especially onto the low ground and countdown. Really nice play from Intel to be able to keep themselves safe, especially when now we consider that both squads are going to have to move to the south.
It's a big rotation for all of these teams. Team Liquid, Intel, DZ, 100 Thieves, always making their move. One of my favorite teams to go and watch, I know a lot of other favorite teams, TSM. They always have an interesting play style no matter what, and they're just big chilling on top of here. What a great combination of weapons for this type of situation here for Verhulst.
Now, I know that a lot of people have been talking about it recently, but Tom, I value your opinion, and I want to hear a little bit about, holy lord, about your take on the reps playing with Fuse. I can't believe this is happening. What is going on right now? He must be DC'd.
I think he's data mining how to shoot the 30-30 from across the map because that was ridiculous. I don't know what that was. He could have been DC'd, could have been some sort of issue. He's going to drop the 30-30 for the charge rifle, which is a great gun in these type of situations. Just look at how nasty Verhulst is. The dude doesn't miss whether you're moving, whether you're not moving. It doesn't really matter. There's no hiding from this man. All right, he finally missed just a little bit.
Just a little. He's still got a little bit of 9 damage. It looks like NRG are still suffering the push from Verhulst at that long range as Nathan has gone down to the guard who were rotating from Harvester. C9 on a late rotation of their own. The trademark C9 move are now going to get taken down to just the one member. Zach still alive for the moment. Playing things safe, Robin around that corner one more time with a 301 to take out Tripods, leaving C9 the sole victors in Overlook. It's a nice early 3v3 for them and exactly what this roster looks for.
And all of a sudden, TSM is getting the business from Slurp. He gets 2 knocks right there onto Reps, onto Hal. Now Verhulst, last player alive over here. I don't know how that happened. There's just so much action. Look at all the fights that are taking place. Multiple third parties. CLG is involved. Guards getting in onto Razor. Everybody is fighting and duking it out right now. Good early kill points from TSM, but I guarantee they would trade those kill points to get their members back into this one. CLG with an unorthodox composition. Remember, we're talking about metas. Hello to Loba and Maggie. Mamba busting it out. You don't really see Maggie much in competitive play. Loba's been a staple in certain situations. Demi doesn't need a backpack, apparently. You know, you got the Loba ult there. Why go for the backpack when you could just go, you know, lightweight with Valkyrie? Doesn't weigh you down via, you know, you can easily fly around. Good 57 connect on the blue, but he gets out damaged, and they're just not in a really good spot in terms of resources right now. They may need to slow things down until it's time for another black market.
It's a really weird position for them to be in, especially with FaZe, who, like we illustrated, just took out 2 members of TSM moments ago. This is a squad that can push fast, that can finish you off quickly, and you should know that there's a crypto above you to be able to deal that extra bit of entry damage and slow to make things even better should FaZe choose to take that isolated 3v3. You'll notice, however, both of these squads not running Seer, which actually gives TSM the best chance of survival in a situation like this.
Not running Seer. Who do they think they are? I love watching this FaZe roster play on Crypto, though. Sending in 2 controller players, it just makes sense to go and do your dirty work. I like where Albrelli's head is at throughout all of this. May want to consider doing an armor swap here if you're sniped down with Albrelli, though, because if you're the one going in and maybe consistently fighting, then you may need to have the better armor in this type of situation. But you can see only 31 away from blue, and that's what you're really looking for if you're sniped down. And he's like, why won't these fences go down? That's the life of a controller player there on Watson.
Oh my god, there we go. Finally, the pieces get connected, and a little bit of serotonin is given to our boy Snipedown, who, as you talked about, is looking not worse for wear since he's been having white shields the whole time, but definitely not as confident as his compatriots should they have to push out. The fortunate thing about FaZe's positioning is that this building should be pretty safe until at least that zone 4 or 5 that you've talked about, and that is where they can swap off of other death boxes around them as well. You'll notice that with the Crypto, they've got easy access to scanning the beacon just off to the north of them here in Lava Siphon, and FaZe's position should age really well since there are limited ways to enter this building. And honestly, if I'm any other squad looking at all these Watson fences here in the Crypto drone inside, I'm absolutely not pushing it if I have any other choice.
Now we're taking a look at C9, taking a fight over towards the beacon building at No Name across from Fragment. A little bit of healing taking place. No major medis though, so if they're going to take this fight, they need to take this fight ASAP. You can see they're in the middle of a Seer ultimate, not much they can do. A little bit of crouching happening, and this is going up against Sentinels, who has a little bit more resources from them. There goes the Q coming out. Senox is getting aggressive. He's going to drop into 2 players. Not necessarily the move typically, but he's got some backup. Rocker goes down, Naughty goes down, only one more player, and goodbye to C9. Sentinels with a great job, and obviously we know no heat shields here in competitive play, so Senox is just going to have to take that one to the chin, and he's going to look at their boxes on the C9 side and say, wait, none of you guys have meds? So they're going to have to figure it out and pop some syringes and slowly make their way into the zone after they hit the scan onto the next zone.
1 minute left until they've absolutely got to push this in, since they've got a limited amount of time and, like you said, a limited amount of meds. I'd be surprised if it doesn't go a little bit faster, but they've done us the courtesy of revealing at least the following ring. And this is pulling away from positions that teams like Luminosity Gaming had actually capitalized on. Launch Site is going to be really popular since so many endings are going to pull right between Launch Site and Lava Siphon, making both these buildings really, well, nice to play. But looking at Intel's position right now, I find myself preferring theirs in a situation like this. FaZe, already having gotten the read on ring from the beacon in Lava Siphon, have repositioned to the other god spot, and one that's going to be extraordinarily difficult to push. That bridge is really amazing.
Especially when you have the composition that they have, and again, the power of the 3 legends that they're using. Valkyrie for the rotation. Watson is set up on the bridge, which is very difficult to spot to hold if you're not holding a Caustic or Watson. Watson is the perfect legend for that situation. Now all of a sudden G2 finds themselves in a little bit of trouble. They're going to get caught in between a handful of teams. Resulta needs to consider throwing his ultimate directly behind where that high ground is on over towards the tree. The Rolling Thunder would definitely cover their back, but instead he's just going to play a little bit passive now. I did not know the guard is running this composition. No Valkyrie. Very interesting. When you see a handful of teams, they are rocking Valkyrie. So G2 and the guard, 2 teams that aren't using that. And realistically, I love the way that everybody's really playing into their strengths. G2 is a team fighting team. They love to skirmish. TSM Verholst finally going down in 16th place. A nice job ratting it out for him. But they're going to try to play this fence line over here if you're G2. I love that. When you look at the teams and when we saw the mini map, you see some really big brain plays coming in from certain squads, okay? You see FaZe with their immediate rotation. They're extremely fast. Also picking up some kills there onto the Razor team. And then on the backhand side, you have Intel, who somehow just knew, based on the zone that they saw, that it was going to continue to pull over towards Harvester in this bridge. Team Liquid, 100 Thieves, all of these teams just next level thinking on terms of predicting where that zone was going to pull.
It's really benefited them as well. I was taking a look at the scan, and while Liquid are sat up here, and we know that Intel are below them, Guard was a team that I was wondering about for a squad that really does like to play zone. They haven't got a whole lot of positions in Harvester left to play, and we know for a fact, because we checked in with them maybe 30 seconds ago, that they also aren't already in one of these buildings. Liquid actually positioning forward on one of them to see if they can find maybe a few frags here. Should they try and take this building, it's exposing themselves to a little bit of risk, as more than likely a lot of squads are going to try and prioritize this exact rotation, but Liquid could manage to make their way out of this a lot of kill points the richer.
And another really strong position for your Wattson. So I think that there's zero reason for a team that isn't playing Wattson to go and hold this. Love the way that they're able to, again, get in a great position. 100 Thieves getting eliminated. We saw them on the backhand side. Sentinels gets involved. Intel gets involved. And I love that we talked and highlighted Intel previously and said, hey, what Intel is going to show up? Are they going to be a powerhouse team in terms of these partnered squads, or are they going to struggle? It looks like they're off to a great start, Dia.
They're not playing games today, and they are another one of those squads that is running
technically
the
they
crypto
are.
for that advanced information. I guess so. Aren't they blessed to be able to play games for a little bit of prizing? Now, since they've got this Valcult, and they are one of the squads making use of it, they're actually going to take to the sky right now in an interesting maneuver. Intel's already... Oh, God! Oh, Jesus! Eviscerated in the sky! Flinzar's taken down, and while Jet drops down, I do wonder how long they'll actually be able to survive here. The fact that they haven't dropped onto another squad ready to eviscerate them is very, very unlikely.
We'll see if you could do something crazy here if you're Icy, right? You could possibly go and stick the res directly on where FaZe is. That's extremely risky. And now you're getting collapsed on from all different sides. Unfortunate situation right there. Realistically, there wasn't a reason to go for that fast rotate. You know, it's so easy when you're sitting here and you get the player outlines and you're talking about the game instead of actually playing the game. They seem like they had the information first, they were going to try to bounce on over there. But you have to assume with 13 squads left, a majority of where they were trying to play was already going to be taken. So a lot of times the rule is wait for another Valkyrie team to go and make a play and see where everyone else shoots at them so you can get good information, and then you could go based off of that and kind of mirror them and learn from where they are potentially taking a lot of damage from. That didn't work out. Fortunately, they do have two players. They do have crypto if they want to go and do something crazy. This could be a fight potential, though. Seer is broken. Great job from the Guard, continuing to add pressure on Team Liquid.
And that's the really, I think, underrated part of what happened with Intel there, is that, yes, well, they lost a member. Yes, well, that attempted rotation did hurt them. What really ended up happening is not just that they were hurt, but now the Guard are benefited. They've got the opportunity to play Harvester with just another two-man here most recently. Nobody really that can stand in the way of the firepower of the squad, or at least you'd think. RKN is down, and Keon's got to take the brunt of this damage, but with the help from that Maggie, the Guard are going to be able to prove me right, picking up these kills and eliminating Intel. We're into the top 12 right now, and with a gold knockdown res, RKN's right back into the fight with just over half of his remaining HP left. They've still got to move into the zone, though. We know that the Guard did get this scan earlier. They've even got the opportunity to pick up another one with the beacon that is still in Harvester, but they have to be thinking about endgame, and that actual rotation is still, as we saw earlier, very, very difficult. Even more difficult when we consider the Guard don't even have a Valkyrie.
Well, their idea is to hit the EMP and then go in with the Maggie ball and foot it and take fights on anyone that stands in their way. I like that. If you're confident in your team fighting ability, why not? Why go for the risky Valk play? We already saw what happens at Team Intel when that takes place. But with 58 seconds left, something has to give. One thing they don't have a counter for is that Seer, unless they go and hit the EMP, unless they go and get rid of that Horizontal and booyah, around the corner. Here comes the rest of the players. Armor swaps on the ground. Sentinels is getting involved. They're interested. This fight has to end extremely quickly. Great shots there from Tech. He's your kill leader. He's also going to be in a good spot to potentially res his teammate after he heals up. That should be enough time to hit the Phoenix kit, figure out how they're going to go and rotate, where their Skyward Dive is going to go, and now we're down to our final 10 squads.
Sentinels get involved from every angle as well. With the elimination of Dark Zero, these kill points mean a lot for Sentinels, and it was miraculous the way they ended up picking this up. I know we talked a little bit about Panders earlier. That sub-in really coming in clutch when you have a Valkyrie who's basically a turret that you can just summon behind the enemy team. Now we've got Team Aegon on the inside of Lava Siphon. Without the interior of this building being in zone, they would really like to take out the squad underneath them, and the opening serial, well, it provides them an offensive advantage, isn't being used to the fullest right now.
They're trying to figure out what they're going to do with this team down below that will not get off of Caustic. I mean, who still uses Caustic and Gibby nowadays? Well, it's LG. This was a 48.6% rate at your World Championships just in July. It hasn't been that long, but it's really fallen out of style. We're down to a 5% pick rate just off of what we're seeing today. This is the only team running this current 3 legend meta. It's going to be exciting to see what LG is going to have to do with turns in squad directly above them. Complexity getting dropped. That's FaZe still involved. I believe FaZe may have lost out on a player. They could have gotten the res. I'd like to keep tabs on what they're doing. All 3 players alive. Albrele looking nasty with the Scout Mastiff combo. They have the scan on towards these players over towards the side. That should be Team Liquid still, and it is. Fun getting dropped. The shots from Snipe Down just so clean. EMP flying, and it's going to slow them down temporarily, but the job's done. The knocks already happened. They've learned this from the past to run through. I like that play. I think that you do continue to run through that Thermite. Albrele is going to come in second, and he's going to have to clean everything up, but it's just a little bit too late. FaZe goes down. Liquid goes down. Sentinels with the third party. Maybe they bit off a little bit more than they could chew, and those Thermites were putting in serious work. The 5th party coming in. G2 looking like they're interested. Designful on his patent, and Bloodhound with his wingman is just spraying down the opponents.
Full data on this 3v2 as well. It comes down to the wire, though, as Senox has fallen. But G2 still have to take a moment to reset and still have to pull off this res as well. Though they're in the top 6, G2 are far from out of the woods. They are on the low ground, and while they have an immense amount of loot, while they have 3 players remaining, this literal uphill battle could cost them their lives, depending on how many other squads rotate over. But the other thing that we know is that teams like Luminosity are making movement impossible.
They're taking too long to loot.
Lava Siphon.
Guys, they need the heal.
Actually,
get out of the box. This is 3 controller players if you've ever seen it, Dia. I mean, we could make a lot of jokes about that, but we'll let them slide because they played that so cleanly. But it's time to move. The medkits are happening. They made it underneath the bridge, and a sigh of relief for all of G2 fans. I was worried that they were going to be get kept in this exact spot that they were trying to hold, but they must have had information on over towards the side, and now it looks like they have control of this platform and all of the action directly in front of them.
Tyson going down means that we're into the top 5. A few more placement points for everyone still interested, still looking for them. As G2, we're looking for kill points more than anything. We have a squad elimination. Aegon by AOC are out, and now that you've got to exit that RV, G2 may have overextended for it. Chaotic goes for those kills, and instead gets taken down to just 25 HP left, needing to pop back and heal up. No more meds available for G2. This is what they've got until they wipe another squad, and while it looks like plenty for now, their war of attrition is going to be very long range, trying to find a little bit of damage onto Mamba. G2 reveal their position and are able to take up space with CLG so spread out in this ring. G2 are taking command.
This is the power spot, and you can see exactly what the thought process is try to eliminate these players directly in front of them. MJ, I think, was a solo on Mike and Ike and was able to make a move and pick up some kills along the way, basically griefing LG's game now. Members from CLG were falling as well, so this is all G2. If they want to take advantage of the situation, they have the numbers advantage.
Nano still healing up on the low ground, does not get hit by that 301, and it could be the turning point for CLG since G2 are split right now. One good pick on Resulta would change everything, but he's doing so well to play with Chaotic, not overextend, and let G2 group up again and take this high ground. We know for a fact that on the low ground, Luminosity Gaming are crippled. G2 know it as well. There's only one squad that really stands in their way, and in order to take this game win, they have to eliminate CLG standing before them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's going to be a battery coming in from Designful. Even though it needed to hit a cell, that's just how much resources they have right now. And the best part is, Dia, he has the Beast of the Hunt, so he can hit an easy scan right now and then wait just a little bit longer, probably about 5 seconds before he goes and pops that Beast of the Hunt. And that should last the entirety of this zone, which is going to force these two teams to fight.
Somebody's going to have to play for second here, and CLG don't really appear to want to try and push up to the high ground for first. Luminosity is looking really tempting right now. That Caustic, probably the only thing keeping them from being insta-pushed. And while G2 start to monitor the situation, it might be worth them considering wrapping around on Luminosity. Out goes the Wrecking Ball. Everyone has their eyes on this cross-section. CLG try and send it across. They don't get knocked on the way. Instead, they are all over Luminosity Gaming. CLG have made the decision to play for second, and already they've taken out Luminosity as G2 come in from above. The gain is all but wrapped as the car rings through the lava siphon area. It will be G2 that pick up that win, but a great endgame play by all three teams.
And the improvements from G2, it took a little bit of time for Chaotic to kind of fit in. They were doing great in ranked for quite some time. We saw that throughout the Kings Canyon split, but they were kind of struggling when it came to tournament play. This is the G2 that they had when Gentrifying is on the squad. This may even be a better G2 team. That is textbook G2 winning right there. Coming through, slow playing out of the thermal station side, third party after third party. No one realistically knows where they are until they're in your face. All three with those controllers putting in some serious damage. I love the patience there from G2. They easily could have got a little bit hyper aggressive. There was a scary moment coming in from Chaotic, but they kept their cool. Great timing of the Beast of the Hunt, and you put a great point in there, Dia, is that eventually one of these teams is going to have to play for second. CLG recognizing that, they said, hey, let's go after LG. There's just too much positioning on the G2 side.
Yeah, and I mean, G2 did really well to keep that under control as well. They've got a lot more discipline than we've seen in the past, and this could be the new era of G2. For a little bit more on that, though, let's hear from Yeso.
Big win there from G2 to kick off our first day of the season. And great point there, honestly, made by Tom. The adjustments for this team, of course, Gentrifying, stepping away from the roster, of course, now playing with tripods and bringing in Chaotic into this team. And I think Tom hit the nail on the head there. It really feels like they found that piece that allows them to continue to play the style that made this roster so successful in its previous iteration. And it seems like, yes, while it did take them a little while to get Chaotic on board and figure out kind of those adjustments and settle in with this new iteration of the roster, they have gone right back to the way that they played before, and they looked really good in this game. And just such a wonderful job in that final circle as well of maintaining pressure on both sides, on LG and CLG, and just ensuring that nobody made that decision to push onto them. They very much set themselves apart as, hey, we have the God spot. We are the strongest team right now in this circle. You two are going to have to figure it out, and then we're going to come in and clean up. And they did exactly that. So well played there from G2. They take the first win of the day, and that'll bring us to our Mobile One high performance moment. Let's take a look at it here from our first game of the day. And it's going to be the finish here from G2. Beast of the Hunt out. They have all of the information as CLG and LG battle it out, and LG goes down. And while the bubble comes through here from the side of CLG, the high ground's in favor of G2, and it's a very straightforward push down onto the low to clean up those members because they do not have nearly enough time to heal up. They maybe get off an armor swap or two here, but it's just too little too late here for the CLG squad, and G2 just well timed on the push. They have all the information that they need, and they clean up these last few players for a nice win to start off the day. So well played there from G2. Let's jump right into our Mobile One leaderboard out of that Mobile One high performance moment. See where all of these teams stand after one game. No surprise, G2 at the top, followed right by CLG. FaZe with a solid start to the game. Some pretty good KP because they went out if memory serves, around 7th or 8th place. So they got some good KP in this one, and we got a couple of good looks at Sentinels playing aggressively, them pushing onto the guard there on that southern side of Harvester and cleaning some kills up there. They were, of course, were one of the teams pushing into those late third parties that G2 eventually showed up to. So Sentinels with Tech, of course, subbing in their coach. Filling in is that third today, looking solid there as well. So great start from a few of these teams. We'll have to see some adjustments from the likes of Esports Arena and Tripods down on the bottom side. Of course, we've seen quite a few looks at them on World's Edge with those early contests over and Landslide. Things have changed a little bit. We're going to need to see a better performance from them here going into game number 2. We're going to go to a quick break right now. When we come back, we've got our second game of the day as Series Z Apex Legends continues.
I'll be loading up, they wanna package this. Pray for peace, pacifist, I'm never old enough to give a promise.
Welcome back to Series E, folks, as we get ready for game number 2 of the day. It's also going to be on World's Edge, and as we make our return there, T-Squared, the big question on my mind has to be, has all this data mining been worth it? We've gotten one game out of the way, and clearly those teams that were in the zone had a definite advantage. I'm thinking specifically of squads like CLG and LG that we saw sit in Lava Siphon for so long. Of the 3 squads that made it into the end game, 2 out of 3 of them were there for the longest time, but G2 were not playing zone, and they crushed it.
Well, we also know that Designful made a tweet about data mining into his controller, too. So that could be something we got to look out for now. It's the 50-50 happening. And ESA looks like they are going to lose out again to Intel. What a job from Intel. Jet coming in with the full shields. Is this a replay? No. This is a full-blown fight. It is a replay. Okay, sorry. Oh, my gosh. I thought we were in the game. Again, seeing the same exact thing over again. Okay. Well, all right. Well, it is a replay.
I would absolutely believe it. Because the likelihood is that exact 50-50 is going to play out again. And C9 are absolutely going to do that again. I think that what we got to see in game number 1 was this really nice trademark of styles from a lot of our teams. Those that wanted to play Zone got access to it really early with the central one by Lava Siphon. Those that wanted to play Edge had their time in the sun as well. As the Guard did, however, get denied that zone, as I noted a little bit earlier on. They ended up suffering in what seemed like this mass exodus from Harvester that claimed 6, 7, 8, 9 lives on the way there.
I'm just looking at the chat waiting for them to laugh at me for when the whole replay ended up going down. But this was an insane moment right here where Intel really set off like this domino effect of fighting over towards the Snake side. And it was a really interesting kind of methodical way to watch out all of these teams go and play this zone. And you're seeing, again, teams play into their strengths. This was a moment where I watched in scrims yesterday. They had this conversation that if they have one player knocked and there's going to be a thermite in the door, that they're going to full send this. And Snipetown doesn't go through the thermite and goes around and does the opposite thing of what they talked about yesterday. When he was the one saying, don't go to the opposite side of the door, run through the thermite. And Slurp does it. Snipetown goes around. And I just think that it's really bittersweet to watch FaZe go out like that. Because if you watched their scrims yesterday, they literally went through this exact scenario in the building that's northwest from here.
Yeah, it is quite funny to watch it play out. And in the moment, obviously, you know, plans are going to change. But looking back on it and how they've prepared for this, I mean, FaZe did do really well in the mid game, and their team play was on point until right here. And it was this low ground that claimed so many teams. We saw Sentinels try and go through there as well. That didn't work out. And with Team Liquid trying to make their exodus as well, it just got really impossible for squads to actually relocate themselves. Despite the fact that so many of these teams had really good positions, it was G2 that just arrived later than everyone else that really ended up having the best time. On the opposite side of this, I kept imagining that we'd see CLG opting into the fight around the edge, but they made a very definite decision to move center of Lava Siphon, using that train tunnel for a little bit of flexibility. And though it isn't a god spot, though it isn't a building that's super easy to defend, you see the value of that train tunnel in the way that it was played right there, because CLG didn't have to go through this meat grinder that was occurring just off to their west, instead getting to sit and chill in zone watching everybody else try and move from Lava Siphon.
There's your leaderboard right there, powered by Mobile One. You can see G2 again sitting in first place, but I think that play that you were talking about, Dia, is so important for CLG because look what it rewarded for them, right? They got the extra 2 kill points plus the extra points from the placement, and that is phenomenal for them. FaZe, imagine what would have happened if they were going to continue to get over towards that end zone. They had a ton of kill points on the board. Sentinels is looking good with Tech. It makes you wonder, what's going on? Is Tech going to potentially slide into this position full time, because they've been a consistent team over towards the top, and it seems like it's really working out for them. Surprisingly, on the other side, we saw DZ with some amazing shots across the map from zero. Wasn't enough. They still got only 1 point overall as your teams are loading up into game number 2. TSM taken out early over towards Lava Siphon. That was a wild ride. Verhulst connecting on 30-30 shots across the map, griefing people with the charge rifle. Maybe Hal plugged in his controller for this game, or maybe he was playing on controller in game 1.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they get the chance to really give us a fight this time around, because last time, like you talked about, we saw the highs of TSM and the lows of TSM, and absolutely nothing in between. It was, TSM are fighting, they're poking at long range, somebody else is fighting, let's take a look at that, and all of a sudden TSM are down to 1 member, and really not getting to see the way that played out. The only thing that we know for certain is that it was FaZe that did it to him. And for a roster that, like you said, placed really well, they were clearly really good about finding kill points, about taking 3v3s, and that's what this roster got a lot of people excited for at the very start of the season. At their inception, before they were even officially signed to FaZe, it was this ability to go, to push, to take fights, and to use their incredible mechanical skill to their advantage as much as possible. FaZe really did that well last game, and they've been doing it well throughout the past week. Let's hope they can replicate it in game number 2, much like we hope that G2 can give us a little something to remember them by again, as we are dropping in for what I'm hoping will be a little bit of a different way of playing things out. We went Central Zone last time. What are we doing this time?
Well, they're getting a purple armor, that's for sure. The rich get richer after their game 1 win. They're going to be getting some pretty decent loot up here to start. The 30-30 always going to be a wise choice for the long range. Results even playing so safe that he's smoking in the area where no one's at, just across the area. That's how you do it if you're G2. You spread out on over towards the thermal station. You take your time looting. Speaking of replicator, they have the replicator over towards thermal station. They're going to be sitting pretty. And we know how crowded this northwest side of the map ends up getting. They were going to see that zone pull over there as well. Now, where are the teams that are going to be rewarded with that? Team Liquid, going to love what they see. 100 Thieves, ESA, Guard, Dark Zero. We're also noticing, instead of tripods going over towards that Skyhook area, they're going to evacuate that. They're going to go on over towards Overlook. It's a free spot. It's a free POI. Why not go and take that? Things you have to worry about would be a team like Sentinels or C9 just immediately yeeting it towards you. So it's going to be fun to see how all the teams go and play the rotations. Lava Siphon being owned by TSM. They should be taking their time looting that POI, getting everything that they're needing, and then going for some sort of play in a choke to go and pick up kills. I feel like that's the TSM style of play. Now, where is this zone exactly going to pull, Dia? It makes you wonder if this is going to be a countdown zone based on what we're seeing. A lot of times when you look at that part of the area, we're going to have to check in with our data miners over at ESA, but I believe this is a countdown zone.
It's certainly looking like it, and I'd be very surprised if we don't see teams like the Guard try and lock down an area of Countdown really quickly because of the flexibility that still gives you into the end game as well. Guard actually making a hasty escape as they did try and do that, encountered some unexpected resistance, now having to push their way back out towards the landslide area where they began. Now, we've got a team that's going to be approaching from the south, and I wanted to bring them up, but I'm going to have to hold the point for just a second as the Guard's fight actually continues. Cyril being tossed out onto the Guard as well, with Keon getting fried from above. He does have that Arc Star at his back, still waiting on the bracelet cooldown, and cannot play this safe just yet. No, there's another team showing up, and CLG are going to be the ones to collect this first kill on the Guard. Keon is down, and down for good, as no one is retrieving that banner.
And he had to use his bracelet to get out of there, and you can see there was 10 seconds on it while the grenades were still coming over there, and they're just sitting pretty over towards the high ground of this landslide area, hitting replicators. The perfect weapon for that type of range. The 2-4 scout is going to put in some serious work throughout all of that, and now the Guard is going to be in a very tough position moving forward, but everyone was trying to get on over towards that countdown area. We know the zone most likely going to pull over there. There goes the drone trying to pick up the banner. He should be able to get on over towards that. He did. So you can see delivered a beacon in the corner to the side. And this is where the mind games start to play in. Where do you go for the res over here? Lava Siphon is another area that's going to be safe on over towards the next zone. They could play the backhand side of Lava Siphon and then go for the res in the middle. Hopefully get some of the scraps from the team that looted that area.
I'm really surprised the Guard were even able to pull off getting that beacon, since, I mean, seeing Crypto in a drone, you know exactly where he is, and you know that he can't move. Nobody pushing this gives Guard the opportunity to really pick up a third where they should have had to play as 2 for the remainder of the game. But to the point that I was trying to make a little bit earlier, nope, the Guard getting full sent on is going to stop me again. This is going to be difficult. We just saw Dark Zero poke their heads back and go, hey, wait a second. Is there a squad trying to res behind us? I don't think so.
And there's multiple teams in the area. That's what I'm worried about. It's safe for the next zone, so there's going to be multiple teams collapsing on this when you have Razor coming in from behind. You have Dark Zero still in the vicinity as well. I don't believe Keon was knocked throughout all of that, so somehow, some way, he was able to survive. But you could see every crate picked cleaned, open, every door completely open, and pings going down over towards the bottom of the lava. Never the vibe that you're looking for. And now more fighting taking place on this side of the map. Oxy Aries with the Volt. You also have Capra coming in and getting a knock with the car onto Verholz. Hal's in a fight. Multiple fights taking place as rotations are starting to happen. And woo, the Hemlock really connecting for Saucer.
ESA versus TSM going down the other side of the map, and it looks like ESA is coming out on top right now.
Zone 1
TSM
Kraber
are out as Esports Arena take them down in countdown. Let's go, Esports Arena.
The Zone 1 Kraber, I can hear TSM fans molding in the background. That is not something you typically see unless it's me in my matchmaking games and I walk right into a headshot. But 3 purple armors, God Spot, great loot. This is a godsend for ESA. We saw the replay that happened. They were taken out early by Team Intel, and now they are sitting pretty and hopefully picking up some more kill points along the way. Now, here's what you think, Dia. You go, okay, is this shot really worth taking? Would I be able to get the kill throughout all of this? You have to wait for, oh, nice 140 flick of the wrist. Or do you say, hey, let me just use all of the ammo here. I'm 180 away from getting a red Evo shield, and we're talking about round 1 just now closing.
And Capra's leveled this up almost entirely on their own. Already 1,000 damage for Capra is insane to think about when there's only been one squad in the entire lobby that's fully eliminated. It was Esports Arena that did it to him. Speaking of that, of course, the guard's still alive somehow from their fight over in Lava Fisher, and then we didn't get to see the end of that and how it played out. The fact is that they're still running around with very little loot, a lot of squads on their tail that must know where they are. The very fact that they are still in this game is impressive enough for now to keep them in the running. You would have noticed at the same time that just off to the north of Lava Fisher, we did have a different squad. NRG, due to some internet issues, had stepped out from the tournament today, and we've got FA into sub for them, and already have done an applaudable, I think is what I'm going to go with, job trying to gatekeep folks over here in Lava Fisher. They're continuing to do so and getting that data on what I imagine to be the guards sitting right next door to them.
A lot of great points right there, Dia, and I think that one of the most surprising things would be the 2 things that you mentioned. Capra with 1,100 damage. Absolutely ridiculous. And now you're also going to see some good plays onto that interception pylon through the wall from the Maggie player, which could be Rambo, as they're trying to maybe consider push inside of the space for FA.
Maggie's just so good into Watson for exactly that reason. You just destroy the pylon, not giving him a chance to fight back, because the pylon doesn't have any effect outside of the walls. I think that'll be it. Pylon down for now. Mama's not going to get any additional damage, but with CLG sitting out here, it draws even more questions as to where Guard has ended up, because these are the 2 squads that are running the Mad Maggie. CLG with a little bit more ability to pick up that loot from long range for now, especially because Nano's fully kitted up, but Guard should be able to do that as well later on. With Intel in a fight of their own trying to exit Fragment for the moment, Icy has gotten fried, but repeaks the angle, actually helping his team apply some much-needed pressure, and with Jet having fallen, pressure is absolutely what they need. Intel are down to 75 collective HP, playing a single knockdown shield, and Aegon on the other side on this high ground are in big trouble. Interrupts on the heels as Forsey tries to get away and should be able to with that additional sort of scary factor that he's done with the tactical. But Aegon are unlikely to be able to make it too far in this game, as there's a lot of open ground between Forsey and the rest of the lobby.
Yeah, tons of open ground over here, and they don't have that crypto like we saw the guard coming through. And hello, one of the crates that they open is going to have a purple armor in it. So a little bit bittersweet there as Intel continues to show that they are not messing around. Skyward dive taking place here for LG. They're going to try to find some open ground over towards the landslide area. We've already seen a lot of action happening over here, particularly CLG picking up that early kill. And now pings are going down on players having to cross on over towards the open. That is a ballsy crafting spot by whoever that player is. They're going to go try to get on over towards that sniper ledge. But again, the power of Caustic and the utility. Barrels on each side. You don't have to be too worried about teams pushing up over here. This is a spot where you're trying to do some gatekeeping for anyone that's going to cross the line. And that was MJ making his way down there, picking up some materials. Designful in the kill feed. We're wondering what's going on with Guard. Well, G2 is on top of them. The R301 from Chaotic. The Wingman coming in from Designful. And they are in a great position.
Doesn't look like we'll be wondering for too much longer either. Just one member left, it seems, as G2 are able to clean them all up, taking out RKN. It's actually FaZe that deal that final blow. While still in countdown, we won't get to see other zone teams like the Guard play this out. Instead, it's going to be G2 who have arrived very early into this zone. Though they are still looking good, it's a totally different performance from what they had last game, having really rushed it up here to claim this building.
Love the way that FaZe has been playing. Immediate adjustments taking place. The squad has been a team just for a couple of months now. And they've already figured out what their meta is going to be. You love to go and see it. Elreli has one of the deepest legend pools in all of Apex. We've seen him originally on that Pathfinder. We don't have time to talk about that. The push is coming in from C9, who's already picked up some kills. They eliminated tripods earlier, and now they are going to drop team intel. And it makes you wonder if they've gotten rotations on lock. They're finding 2 teams already with inside of the top 15 squads. 5 teams eliminated. C9's done the damage for 2 of them.
It's just a much better version of Game 1 for this team, and well, I would have put this same problem to them, the one that Aegon faced earlier with having to run through a bunch of open ground. C9 have a little bit of an easier time doing it since they're running the Bangalore as well. Not only a potent combination with the Bloodhound for these 3v3s, but also for being able to give you cover over long distances, making the weaknesses of C9 on the rotations, these long rotations, that much less apparent to the teams around them. They do still have to make their way in, though. There's only a minute left until this next zone closes, and it will be a deadly zone. Is going to eventually start pushing them forward. A lot of ground to cover before countdown as well, but some teams that we already know stand in between them, like Mike and Ike up on that high ground, could be ripe for the picking.
Ripe for the picking for sure. Maybe going to make some new Mike and Ike flavors out of what they pick over here as they're trying to find some kills. But they are playing with Borrasco. I didn't notice. And Borrasco is a great player and a great addition to this team. I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do. A lot of experience coming in from this MNK player. MJ coming in with the 30-30 from the high ground, putting down some damage. You can see how confident they are in MJ's ability to get back on over towards the team. Almost playing this like a Wraith or a Pathfinder because they know he's going to be able to do some serious damage with this gun over towards the high ground. So he's going to drop down and again make his way back on over towards his teammates so they can figure out this rotation. This is when the zone starts to hurt.
There were 3 different squads looking at MJ there, and the very fact that he's alive is honestly enough for me. As C9 have moved right on past Mike and Ike, they are taking a little bit of a long rotation, one that'll put them up towards Skyhook, but also hopefully a position that no one else has prioritized as they arrive, though. Take a look, and there's another squad that's had this exact same game plan. Rocker down to maybe 10 health, maybe even a little bit less. It's going to get full sent. These missiles surely finding the knock, but as Tech is knocked on the other side, it's going to be up to ultimately Sentinels to find another good angle onto the high ground where they're already being sent on. Senox immediately having to go on the defensive with the Arc Star right on him with the zone closing in. Both these squads surely must die. Sentinels are being chewed through by the zone, and C9 are trying desperately to rotate ahead of them. Senox is going to finally jump down to the low ground, but already the zone is much too far away. Sentinels are surely out, and C9, naughty, the last one, is somehow able to make it in.
And it's going to be tough because he only has 3 syringes. Can he get to at least one of the banners is the big question. He's checking around for his back. He knows that the team has died over towards the side. This is 3 squad wipes. Granted, the zone did help out a lot. He has the mobile respawn beacon, so if anything, he can maybe grab a banner and make some plays. But at the same time, I feel like Dark Zero knows what's going on. You could see it, and there's a little cat and mouse game happening between these 2 teams. The call out most likely from C9 is don't show where you're at. Do not put that mobile respawn beacon down. Everybody is going to go and collapse on this one. And no matter what, it already happened. Jen Burton comes around with the Prowler, lays down the hurting onto Naughty. And unfortunately for C9 and their fans, they get eliminated in 13th place. Great team fighting from them, but just not enough towards the tail end. Zone 3 proving to be a little bit too strong. LG now with the rotation. Valkyries on Valkyries everywhere.
What?
Everything's basically taken all over the place. Bubbles going down from Jaguares, and they're going to try to take the previous spot that the Watson squad had. Designful says no, and unfortunately, more nades are flying in. Complexity Lux is getting involved. The res coming in from Yanya, but it is on the Jaguares, who has that gold knockdown. Instead of using the gold knockdown, it's going to be the smoke coming in from the caustic barrels and a possible reset from LG.
I can't believe that they got this off in time, and honestly, props to them for using the best parts of the defensive composition. The bubble didn't quite make it in, but what ultimately let Luminosity play this safe, get these resets, is the caustic gas that was thrown out immediately after. Now, from this low ground, they might even be able to find some kills as Arcstar goes out, but Jaguars gets taken down from behind.
What a psycho.
Luminosity with now no defense have been full sent on by Complexity from behind, and it is disaster for Luminosity, as after they had positioned so well, they will get to proceed no further in this game.
What a psycho push there from Complexity. They smelt weakness, they felt it, and then immediately they collapsed onto LG. LG got a little bit preoccupied with the teams that were on over towards the side. Next thing you know, finger roll grenade into an explosion for the Call squad. That is how you play Apex to a T. Absolute aggressive plays. Speaking of aggressive, Capra continuing to put in work. The dude just doesn't miss. Knocks 0. Tyson goes out. CLG goes out in the kill feed. And Capra is looking like an MVP with this Kraber right now.
Already moving up to 1600, might be able to give us the 2K on the day, but with the Kraber having no shots left, it is time for a quick swap, making Esports Arena extraordinarily short range with the combination of the car and the alternator. They can still get up in your face now, maybe even more effectively than before though, as Capra does find a little bit of extra damage. Luminosity finally being taken out, just the formality of that one being finalized with 8 teams left in Esports Arena still holding some part of Countdown. Taking a look at this ring though, it's one that you called out earlier, Team Liquid would have likely expected, sitting right up to the north of Countdown, right next to Trials. They've got to play underneath the Ravens. Somebody's doing it.
This is the god spot for Team Liquid. They have the Watson fences down. They have the interception pylon stuck in the perfect position right there in between those rocks. Nobody can shoot that. Also, Fun's going to use it as a little parkour action. He's going to toss the Q out to try to get some scans on the players down below. And he's able to reveal at least 2 players and their shields. So a lot of little mind games happening here for Team Liquid as they're owning so much of the real estate on the backhand side of this zone. And you can see where that zone's collapsing from. All that open area behind them is what they're worried about. So they're going to try to keep all of that action in front of them, make sure nobody does a crazy Valkyrie rotation, and show the presence with the Watson. That's huge.
T-Squared, you know this better than anyone, but in Apex, so often you sit around, you try and find yourself some loot, things go slow for such a long time, and then suddenly it's time to execute at 100. And that's what it is for Team Liquid right now. Though they've sat in this perfect spot, now they have to execute, and they have to execute in the face of so many teams that want their exact position. G2 pushing up from the low ground, do take that damage from Team Liquid, aren't finished off yet. Instead, Soul pushes up and gets knocked for it. Liquid trying to capitalize on momentary weakness from G2 have now lost 2 members instead, and though they get these kills, is it going to be in time? Resets coming in very quickly from Sykes as Esports Arena take a totally different fight on the other end of the map. FaZe goes down in the meanwhile, and Capra now gets to shoot down, finding some knocks onto Complexity. Just the 1 member left standing from Complexity sitting inside these knockdown shields should not be enough. Capra and Phony shoot through him, and into the top 3 squads they go. Esports Arena having made it with just 2 members.
Now, they're going to check to see if they can potentially third-party this, maybe even go for a mobile respawn, but there's not enough time. They're going to back off, hit the Q. Team Liquid was able to reset. You can see Razor's weak on over towards the side. Phony's going to take a huge angle and huge spray. just a sliver of HP for these two players. The respawn should be able to come down. That's going to be potentially more kills for Team Liquid, or is it going to be ESA having a dream game? Capra just popping off at the exact moment that they need him, and unfortunately it's fun with the wingman. The mobile respawn doesn't go down at the right spot. Razor somehow survives with a sliver of HP, and there's the full send from Team Liquid. Two players were knocked, they clutched it out against G2, and now they have an easy 3 versus 2 going up against Team Razor, and it should be all she wrote. Luda gets back into the game, so there is still a solo on that side, but this is a position that Team Liquid's been waiting for the entire endgame.
Luda might be able to pick up some guns here, but it would have to be a heroic effort to unseat Team Liquid. We talked about them needing to perform at the right time and having sniffed out white shields. They know exactly what's going on. Luda's playing a little bit of hide and seek, and it's time for the punching ring to come in for our very last circle as Team Liquid collect their rewards for excellent gameplay, for great zone prediction, and a well-earned game number 2.
What a game number 2, action-packed all over the place. Capra popping off for ESA, Liquid shutting down G2. You got to give credit to G2 for finding their way into that fight with Team Liquid and almost winning that. It was almost an improbable win throughout all of that. And I love the idea of, you know what, let's get our teammate back in the game. Let's give him a chance to fight it out and show what his fists of fury are made of.
If they just hadn't gotten knocked, right? Maybe there's a world. There were so many death boxes there that I do see the dream from Esports Arena, and having made it all the way into 3rd place, they had done really well. I appreciate they tried to go the extra mile. Team Liquid, though, of course, able to make it out, able to absolutely crush that lobby as well with how many kills is this across everybody?
It's going to be
9 kills across
21-point game overall. So that's bigger than what G2 had. I believe they had 20 points overall. So it's going to be a very close Mobile 1 leaderboard overall. But just so much to enjoy right there as an Apex fan in that game. Whether it was the round 1 Kraber coming through, whether it was the rotations that we saw, the amazing fights that were taking place, the end game mobile respawn res in the middle of the map, Razor surviving with just a sliver of HP, Liquid holding down their positioning, Call full sending it onto LG. That's what you love to see on our pro nights, and that's what Series E is all about.
It had this great tension around playing for God position. And of course, the Team Liquid were ultimately able to come out on top. We saw so many teams have their highlights. And for a little bit more on those highlights, let's hear from Yeso.
Great game there from Team Esports Arena, getting deep into that lobby. It was not to be. Team Liquid come out with the victory, cleaning up with a little bit of fisticuffs there at the end of the game, and certainly an interesting way to close it out there. But 2 games through, and as Tom mentioned, I think it is going to be very tight on our Mobile 1 leaderboard with a nice 21-point performance there from Team Liquid, and we'll have to see how things shake out. But of course, we started off checking out with the Guard here, and this is a team that I'm pretty hyped on. I've been a big fan of Rambo for a long time. I love that he's rocking the long hair sex god tag in today's competition, but they weren't in the greatest of spots early on and getting punished by CLG on the high ground. And of course then, Sentinels, we got a couple of very good looks at them in our first game of the day. Of course, Tech leading the way because we saw him getting kill leader in that first game, and they got in some scraps themselves this game, and just fighting here on the edge of the circle as round 3 closes. Gets just so tenuous these days. Sometimes people forget that these zone damages have been buffed and the timing is much tighter than it used to be. So these edge teams can get punished much harder if you get caught in the wrong spot at the wrong time, and it happens there a little bit to Sentinels. And of course, you heard T-Square talking about Luminosity and the aggression of teams pushing onto this squad. Looking forward to seeing what LG can do this year. Let's take a look, though, at our Mobile 1 high performance moment here for game number 2 as we get ready for our final game on World's Edge for the day. And it's the finish here from Liquid. Fun, wingman in hand, great shots there onto Capra as they look to clean up Esports Arena and close out the rest of this game. And Phony, outnumbered, trying to use these knock shields, isn't going to be able to escape. And As Phony goes down, it's pretty trivial here for Liquid to get in here, clean up Team Razor, and clean up this game. As that final member, Luda, just holding on, trying to stay alive and rat it out for that second place, is able to do so thanks to the aggression here of Team Liquid. And then I love Liquid just says, hey, let's whip out the boxing gloves. Let's clean this up. We got 3 of us. Luda's not going to win this. And it's just the fist fight for the end. And Liquid takes the love to see it. Well played there from Liquid as they grab a win here in the first half of today. Let's check out our Mobile One leaderboard and see where all of these teams stand. Of course, we had G2 at the top after our first game, and they do hold on to first place thanks to an 8-point performance here, but Liquid with that win jumping right up on their heels. And we said it at the end of that last game, Esports Arena with no points in that first game, needed to find a better performance here. They certainly did that. 21 points in this game. Great fragging by the squad with that 21-point performance. That means it is a 12-kill game from Team Esports Arena to jump up there into third. So that's your top 3 as of right now. We're going to head to a quick break right now. When we come back, DNT Squared will get you ready for the final game of our first half.
Tyson boneless buffalo bites have that tasty kick of flavor, so they're perfect for any get-together. If there are any left when your guests arrive. Tyson Anytizers Chicken. More kicks of flavor, more smiling snackers, more to love. Tyson.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Series E as we are about to kick off our third game of the night. It's important to me, T-Squared, to look back on our second, as Yeso has already given us such a good highlight of, with Team Liquid picking up that win and Esports Arena having a big game. They, of course, put themselves in contention for those top couple spots. But what's really important to me is the fact that this is our final game on World's Edge, and the final opportunity for these teams that have demonstrated control of zones to be able to play with arguably the best map for playing zone.
There's a lot of storylines. I think the most important thing to see is that TSM has not had the World's Edge performance that we typically see from them, and I'm excited to see them bounce back because I feel like whenever they start off slow, they really begin to heat up. Liquid, their consistency remains. Capra, he's really making a name for himself and the way that he's able to put down serious damage. But for teams that we have high expectations of, say maybe Dark Zero, TSM, they haven't really had the performance that they were hoping for, but that's why you play 6 games as we get ready for game number 3.
You got to give yourself every opportunity to succeed, and as we've illustrated, this is of course going to be the last one on this map, but they've still got 3 more, and especially dependent on your playstyle, you can find vastly different success across these different maps. So we'll see how things work out for all of our respective squads dropping into the last game on World's Edge, with Liquid actually dropping relatively early to make their way over towards Skyhook. They'll be passing right over Countdown, which I'm sure will be a bloodbath a little bit later on, once both squads drop, as Intel and Esports Arena show no signs of giving it up to the other.
Yeah, and if this was our ranked game, someone would be landing at like the 3 pills on the back of Countdown, just a third party. But there's a lot more respect these players have for each other. I also saw someone in the chat ask, what happened with NRG? Well, they had an internet issue, and due to that internet issue, they had to back out of the competition, and FA is taking their spot and filling in. So shout out to NRG. Hopefully they have those internet issues fixed later tonight or tomorrow for their team, and appreciate FA coming in to fill in. And when you saw that zone, you just had a feeling in game number 2 that Liquid would know how to play it. They have a great coach in Hodsik. They go through a majority of these situations, and they had some major moments of that game that allowed them to get the dub. But the winners of game number 1, G2, they're going to love the zone that they see here.
Oh, yes they are. And you know, speaking of NRG, I'm sure they wish they were around to be able to play this one out as well. Right next door to staging, with G2 and FA sitting right there. CLG have a great spot to rotate in from, but TSM's new landing spot this season is also really good. They used to be landing over in Fragment East, but just this season, with the pickup of their new coach Raven, moved down to Lava Siphon to get a little bit of a different angle on the map. Now they've got this great move to be able to play the fence line on the opposite side of these mountains from Thermal Station, play safe, get themselves into the zone late, everything. And TSM can do whatever they want.
Yeah, they're making their way downtown, walking fast. They are getting out of there and into Thermal as fast as possible. Understanding this is one of the most brutal zones that you could ever face. It's not one of the zones that you can just bulk in and take a good location. If there's no vacancies, there's no vacancies. And a lot of teams, they do not want to fly in and grief other teams. TSM wants to get a good position. And Hal's like, guys, hurry up, let's go.
Everybody grouped up together. Good. We're all on the same page. I think they're waiting for this little bit of Valk ult there, and it gets burned instantly as Verhulst pops that ultimate immediately. There is the opportunity for TSM to try and play the high ground here now, as it would be a pretty early time to take it, but it's juicy indeed. Already only one player spotted out there, so TSM are going to try and wrestle this high ground away. It is incredibly powerful if you can hold on to it for the end game, but they've got to fight for it first, and Hal already finding Flesh gets knocked himself before anyone else. Sorcerer taken down on the other side as TSM lay out that damage with the fuse to buy themselves a little bit more space. There's already Arc Stars raining it around them though, and Reps almost gets knocked by dodging around the fence just in time, sending Verhulst on the flank. Out goes the Knuckle Cluster, but he is on slivers of HP, as Verhulst as well is going to need to shield that up behind this pill, gets that little bit of extra HP, and is now on the push. If TSM can finish this off, they get ultimate high ground, and they do. FA being taken out as Dark Zero swoop in as well. Both of these powerhouse teams recognizing this powerhouse position and going for it with everything they've got. Response ultimate slows down Dark Zero for just a moment. There's even a third party incoming already, T-squared, but TSM have lost now 2, make it almost 3 members, with I believe Hal being the last one left alive.
It's shocking to see the domino effect, the butterfly effect that comes into play with Apex. TSM wants that spot, FA's already there. DZ wants that spot, they come in for the third party, and unfortunately as soon as Hal ends up getting double teamed and knocked right there, it's very tough to go and cover, especially for that third party. A team as good as DZ is going to go and take that 10 times out of 10. Razor's going to play it a little safe, excuse me. They're going to go set that interception pylon down on the door down below. Say, hey, you know what? We'll take this. We're going to avoid taking that fight over towards that fence line. That fence line is going to see a lot more action. Teams aren't done yet.
No, not at all. I mean, everybody loves being able to play that height, and just that little bit of a teaser was something for us to look forward to. As Tripods, that's a little bit of action here as well. Might be looking for a fight onto what could be a lot of squads, but I think is likely to be C9 on a rotation. The surprising thing about this is that neither squad seems really interested in fully committing to this fight. There we go, a little bit more characteristic than Mike and Ike. Lads, C9 elsewhere evidently, but Mike and Ike do like to play a little bit more defensive and have managed to effectively evade tripods for the moment.
Intel continues to have a huge presence in this lobby on World's Edge. It's a knock onto Lux. Will they be able to get the flush? Another knock. There's the flush as well. 2 members of Complexity down and out. Only 1 remains throughout all of that, and it's just going to be Shiny as he gets taken down from LG in the backhand side. So the rotations and fights really starting to take place now. Again, everyone understanding that this is a thermal station zone. You have to make your way forward. You have to gobble up real estate. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck without any placement points, just trying to take kill points along the way.
Getting stunned up by the wall. Yanya's push does get stymied just that little bit. Luminosity playing things slow, but playing things from what we know is a bad position. If a squad wraps up behind Luminosity, they could be taken down, and Yanya, even here, doesn't have that many escapes. Nades could fly in, and Yanya could very quickly be picked up and taken down. That last knock from Jaguars, though, does open things up as Jet does get taken down. Full thirsted. Luminosity Gaming do manage to pick up a little bit of extra loot and hopefully reevaluate their position. As though this looks nice to be able to pick up damage, it's not going to be a spot that ages well.
Let's check that place out.
Definitely not a spot that you want to be stuck in, but you do have the care pack here. We'll find out exactly what's going to be inside of that one. RE45, extremely strong. All of these care pack weapons work really well in scrims, especially because you don't typically get the attachments that you're really looking for, and those come fully kitted overall. 4 batteries, 11 cells, a Phoenix kit here for Yanya, so sitting pretty based on the loot boxes down below as well, but could be time to start thinking elsewhere about a rotation because there should be multiple teams coming over here.
And they're just eating damage from this charge rifle, though. It's making me very worried. And with Jaguars at 50 HP, it's understandable why the bubble gets dropped. Intel are continuing to apply quite a bit of pressure, even just with the 2 members that they've got left. Despite the fact that Jet is down, they've managed to recover that beacon, and hopefully be able to make it over and grab that res like we saw in the late game just moments ago. Flinzar dropping down onto the low ground is still being chased. Luminosity Gaming want these kills, but it's been so difficult for them to collect already. Good crack from Yanya with a 2-shot on this 30-30, but still does need to look for these last couple members. Will they find this rat spot? Is this snipped out already? Yes, it is. Yanya does get shields cracked. Backs off for just a moment, but having this Watson pinned down, it is a kill that all of Luminosity are going to come collect.
What a job as a duo, fighting off LG, but it's just not going to be enough. I mean, the shots are looking good. Yanya's going to take out that 30-30 and take down Flinzar. What a fight from Flinzar, almost with the 2v1 over towards the side against 2 of the best players that we have in the world, not just in this lobby. Just goes to show you where Intel is individually. But throughout all of that, Dia, in the kill feed, DZ multiple kills onto FaZe. There's another knock onto Slurp. Snipe down has already been down. Sharky's going to go and get that thirst, which means it's really up to Alberlily throughout all of this on that crypto.
After picking up the kills, we've got some defensive positioning coming out from all of our squads. Even Dark Zero, who, as you talked about, getting involved in these fights, still is able to play up on height in the God spot that we mentioned earlier. They were able to effectively avoid the third party that they had coming around the corner when we last saw them at just 2 minutes into the game. But FaZe won't be joining them, as they do get eliminated. And Aegon are coming up. Near where we last saw Luminosity, we're able to loot that care package and may be looking for a fight. I do wonder what they're spoiling for here, as Aegon are not in a great position, much like we said about Luminosity earlier, but do have the opportunity to push up and fight.
And indeed, that team is sponsored by Mike and Ike. I see people in the chat talking about it. Someone also is munching on Mike and Ike's as well. If you see me or hear me munching in the background, guess what I'm eating as well. Shout out to all of our partners for making Series E possible. Also, shout out to the production team over at Esports Arena. Make sure you guys follow them on Twitch. Click that follow button, and at Esports Arena on Twitter if you want to get involved. Multiple games for Series E, not just Apex, so go and check those out if you're a fan of multiple games. Multiverses, Halo goes down as well. LG picking apart a handful of different boxes. They're having themselves a game so far, Dia.
I mean, yeah, LG really have farmed up quite well as Mike and Ike, yes, sponsored by Mike and Ike, start to walk up on them, though. We'll see what these partnered squads can do already. Mike and Ike have had the opportunity to succeed just last season. We talked about their growth, their incredible performances during that time, and now they've gotten the opportunity to play once more under that same banner. Do they choose to make it a little bit more aggressive? Do they take this fight with LG, or do they play a little bit safer, as this bridge still will be in as the next zone closes, giving them a little bit more time to reevaluate their next moves?
Yeah, and this reminds you a little bit of how they played game number 2 over towards the countdown side, right? They were right on the edge of the zone, trying to get picks from that sniper ledge, waiting for things to, again, transpire, try to keep the action in front of them, wait for other teams to make a mistake, and then go and pounce on those. Meanwhile, Tripods, the wingman coming in from Deeds, fight taking place in Harvester, is going to be a tough one to go and do. We'll see if they can take it. Everybody getting fairly weak on the Tripod side.
Nick's health does go pretty low very quickly, but Tripods have managed to hang on effectively for the moment. This zone, really their biggest problem is right now, it's ticking away at their health in the same way the weaponry is. Gent's going to be able to get this heal off, but they're still playing out of the negative. Deeds barely able to pop that med kit in time, and with, say, 20 meters left to go into that zone, he's going to have to need some help from Gent already, getting taken down by C9 in their first fight of this game. Gent wraps around this corner, eliminating C9, and with plenty of health left to spare, enough time to heal up, and enough attitude to give back.
What a fight from Tripods. They finally get the revenge on C9 after C9 takes them down 2 times in a row. And great pings there from Deeds over towards Italian. Also, the medkit with just a sliver going through Capra, getting a knock onto the guard. That's going to be on Rambo. Mike and Ike still into the next zone as well.
I'm surprised that this zone actually pulls so hard towards them. For Mike and Ike, I mean, I'd be starting to doubt whether we can even know where it is going. It does seem unlikely that it pulls to this side of the mountain, and actually, it hasn't excluded the northern passageway up through Harvester and into Thermal yet either. So, during the next minute, Mike and Ike and Luminosity Gaming will have the opportunity to fight for that, or even push up to it if they're not confident in taking a Valgold. As we get the chance to look at Esports Arena, however, who already took some chunks out of the guard. Luda almost eats that nade, but manages to stay up with 90-something HP, and even take to the skies. A little bit of a risky angle if there's a third party in the area, but there is none, and instead it opens up Phony to be able to get yet another knock, this time on 200 Thieves.
Rambo gets back up, though. He's going to lay down some shots onto Luda. Vaxon, last player alive. And it's interesting to see 100 Thieves bail on their typical composition. I don't think this is a composition that really makes sense for them. They were so strong at Newcastle and Watson. I almost feel like that's something they're going to go back to. As you see the guard putting in some serious work. It's Rambo with that Kraber from long range, trying to find the kill on the ground, but the elbow shot not going to really connect. And I believe they switched their composition up too, if I'm not mistaken. We had Keon. He was on Loba earlier, and I believe we saw Loba Seer, if I'm not crazy. I may be crazy. We'll see, but this is a little bit more of their vibe, I feel like. This is exactly what FaZe is running, and I love to see Rambo on Valkyrie.
And they've definitely been more comfortable with this composition in things like the ALGS recently, and with the guard able to give a lot more mobility to Rambo as well. You have to imagine that that'll go better for them in these little short-range skirmishes. They not only have that, but an incredible amount of defensive power given to them by Watson, but Esports Arena dropping in right next to them do manage to get Luda right back into the game with hopefully enough loot. Zone 3, remember, does hurt quite a bit, so you gotta be careful not to be knocked by this. Safety right in this corner of Countdown, though, actually going to be really useful to the squad, as Luda will be able to heal up off the meds that they picked out of those death boxes, and with even more death boxes in front of them, Esports Arena are looking good right now.
I like that play from Luda. You know, go back, get all the loot that you can that's going to disappear a little bit later in the zone, find a little bit of safety, and then make your way forward. Great use of the Q right there to get back on over towards his teammates, but also just a great job by his team overall to cover him, D, and make sure that he was okay getting rezzed.
Razor, one of our only teams to be running Caustic today. We did, of course, have Luminosity earlier, but with those two, that's it. And Sung is able to effectively trap up this door to make sure they don't get pushed on either. Because these are two of the teams that were planning on being in end zone, the very fact that this pulls north and out of their respective buildings is going to be really difficult, especially for Aegon to play out. And we know that right next to them is the juiciest target to push to get a good position. As Nox continue to come in, Guard collecting a few of them, CLG, Luminosity all getting some. Luminosity have lost one as well and are going to try and stick this res for the moment to get the bubble right back into the game. Jaguars, though, not going to be fully picked up as Nizel has to cancel that, instead going for a bat, and Yanya going for a bat of his own. Gets a little too greedy with it, getting knocked by Kodikami and putting it just up to one member left. Mike and Ike sitting back there as well are going to be playing as safe as possible, if not safe enough, not in the face of Tyson, who have just eliminated Luminosity right next door, and who have to make their own rotation into zone. 9 seconds left on that move as Esports Arena make a push of their own, jumping up over this high ground, trying to take away this god spot that we talked about earlier. Dark Zero held here before. Can ESA surpass this mountain? Luda 10 health right now, and Capra just waiting for his opportunity to come up to strike on this Valkyrie, having access to the verticality, but there's a squad behind him, and now they get to assist Dark Zero, taking out these squads that are desperately trying to rotate in. G2 do lose one member, and Luda falls as well, this time to the Storm, and as G2 falls, we're into the top 9. Is it just worth for Capra to play placements? Because right now, looking up at height, there is no way that you dethrone Dark Zero.
Round number 4, that's where all of the money is made. If you're a professional Apex player, you can see the kill feed. It's lighting up all over the place. G2 got dropped. CLG goes down. Team Liquid still in great position. And you can see a lot of teams and players are just being torn apart by the positional advantage from our other squads. There goes the drop down from Sol. Tripods is no more. 6 squads remaining as ESA gets dropped as well. But they're going to have to heal up. Sykes has to heal. And that's going to be a great shot from Sol to buy some extra time for his teammates to get back into this one. And someone throw this man a Q. Boy, they're not playing Horizon.
And it feels bad, but fortunately for fun, he'll be able to climb right back up, joining the rest of the squad. Great trigger discipline from Sol as well, not getting his jimmies rustled by being at only 50 health, instead aiming that Kraber shot, buying space for Liquid instead, and not giving a single inch up. It's going to get Liquid this little bit of height, and still, though they need to push forward, their fight should be with a few squads, as Dark Zero holding this ultimate height should be in the focus of a lot of teams, Razor included, even though they've got a squad right above them.
Yeah, Sung has been one of our strongest caustics in NA for quite some time. A lot of people don't remember former tournament winner for the ALGS, and Caustic is who we did it on. I believe it was at the same time that Kings Canyon was being used. So yes, quite some time ago, but still, nothing's changed in terms of how you actually play Caustic. It's always been the same type of strategies happening over and over again, and now you can see why DZ really wanted to go and hold this fence line. It's very close to where this zone is going to end. A majority of the zone, Dia, is being eaten by the mountain. It's almost half of the zone. And now DZ is going to have to make some serious moves, but what's going to be the play? They're going to have to cause some visual clutter with the Bangalore smokes, and then the pressure comes in from Jen Burton on the high ground.
They're already getting pushed as well. Jen Burton gets fried on his way up, and Zero can't actually climb up as kills continue to fly in for Guard. Of all teams, after getting knocked earlier on, they're able to collect so much here and push themselves into the top 4 as well, with TL sitting on the other side, and with the zone continuing to close in, Rambo continues to clean up kills with this Kraber, now starting to participate with the flatline as well. Sol is ratting things out for Liquid up on this high ground, and though Keon can see him, Keon's got another squad in his sights. Fun gets finished off, and the guard fighting from the low ground are just trying to make their way onto Mount Olympus. Keon's got a great angle on this replicator, chewing through Stanky, claiming yet another knock, and now pushing for Konigami. These are the last two squads. This could be Guard's win, and Keon isn't giving an inch. RKN fries on the flank, and Guard win game 3 on World's Edge.
Wow. Rambo popping off with that Kraber. They changed their composition. We saw someone in the chat even calling out what their composition was. Appreciate you, Hakeem, saying it was Mad Maggie. Just look at how much more comfortable Rambo is. And we saw his username that he's using. No, that's not Dia, that's Rambo.
Yeah, I mean, he looked really good, especially, again, considering that this squad got knocked earlier. We saw their attempt at recovery in game number 2, but that comfort that you're talking about, T-Squared, so evident in this end game and in the mid game as well, with them being able to get everybody right back into the game, play out of a very difficult spot in what was center zone. Not that much loot, not that much cover, just a little macaroni building to keep Guard in the game, but it ended up turning into high ground where they were able to take the game away from Dark Zero, of all squads, a 2-time world champion, and who had the God spot going into that ring. Guard was able to wrestle it away from them.
I just don't think Guard is going to change their composition much more after seeing that. I mean, Kraber shot after Kraber shot, the flatline connecting, all of the positioning coming through that they were doing. That's how you fight your way through things. You don't need Mad Maggie to bully your way through. All you need is Rambo with a Kraber in his hand. Give them 10 kills, give them 22 points, and put it on the board.
Giving some love to Keon as well. I mean, the angles that he found in that last fight were textbook. And you know, everybody knows, if you've seen RKN, if you've heard RKN talk, that it was the perfect way for that last fight to play out. It was literally dissecting a squad as you would need to academically. Take a flank, find a little bit of damage, and then take the opposite side. RKN and Keon working together flawlessly to knock down those pins. We'll get the chance to talk a little bit more about this squad, however, once we return from hearing from Yeso.
Nice win there from the Guard to close out our first half. Done with World's Edge for the day, and we're headed over to Storm Point very soon. So that's G2, Team Liquid, and the Guard are winners here in the first half of the day. We're going to make a quick segment here because I got a little something special to show you all. So let's jump right into our Mobile One high performance moment here for our last game of the first half. And it's checking in here late in the game with Dark Zero. First of all, credit to Dark Zero. Great performance here in the third game. Very quiet from the squad in the first 2 games of the day, but able to get this top 4 performance here at the end of this one has got to feel nice. And they're coming into the second half here with a little bit more confidence. But we have to jump over and watch Team Liquid here. And it's just hanging out here up on the high ground, trying to hide, trying to rat it out. Meanwhile, the Guard feeling confident, feeling scrappy, and as Dark Zero goes out, it's the signal from the Guard here that it is time to go. Only 2 squads remaining as Liquid gets eliminated, and it's now just Tyson versus the Guard, and they just get the firing squad going to finish off that last player there on the side of Tyson to grab the win. And really looking forward to seeing if the Guard can carry this play over to Storm Point. Of course, you heard T-Squared talking about the adjustments that they're making in their composition. Are there any changes that they make headed over to Storm Point? We will find out very soon. Let's quickly check in on our Mobile One leaderboard to see where all of our teams stand. G2 finally knocked out of that first place spot courtesy of back-to-back really good games here from Team Liquid. They follow up that first place victory in game 2 with a top 3 finish here. They're up to 37 points, and it's very tight behind them. 29 points for G2, the Guard and Esports Arena, both tied at 28. CLG rounds out that top 5 at 24. Meanwhile, teams like 100 Thieves and TSM, Tripods as well, rough start to the day. We'll have to see if they can get things rolling as we head over to Storm Point. We're going to head to a quick break right now, but as we do so, you may know that we here at Esports Arena have been partnered with the Alzheimer's Association for a little while to help support their efforts in dealing with that very, very difficult disease. And I got to sit down with a very special guest recently to talk all about it.
Everyone, Esports Arena is a proud supporter of the Alzheimer's Association through Wednesday Night Fights. every final Wednesday of the month. If you head out to Esports Arena and register for their event, 50% of all registrations will be donated by Esports Arena to support the association's care, support, and research efforts. It is my pleasure to welcome a man of many talents and even more voices to talk with me today, my good friend Wes Johnson. Wes, it is good to talk to you. How are you today?
Great to be here, JC. I'm very excited about this. Very excited.
I am as well. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Just, for the folks that are watching that might not necessarily recognize your face, I'm certain that they do recognize your voice. Could you tell them just a little bit about your connection to the gaming community?
Yes, I've been expecting that question. I've been doing voices for the Elder Scrolls for a long time. Fallout, Star Trek, World of Warcraft, a number of different games. I work on film. I do announcing for like the Washington Capitals and the National Art Association. I am out there, but most people would recognize me perhaps as Shea Agora, Daedric Prince of Madness. And I've brought my Wabbajack with me as well. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take the Wabbajack and zap! We're going to turn Alzheimer's disease into a cure. And if we can't do that, well, maybe we'll go a little Fallout, bring out Mo Cronin from Dimey City. I say we get ourselves a nice hefty hickory, get a swatter, and we take care of business. How does that sound to you, huh? So, yeah, it's been my pleasure to be able to use the voices to combat Alzheimer's disease because it's a very personal thing.
What do you think is something that people really need to know about Alzheimer's disease?
It's not a normal part of aging. Okay, it's something different. And if you start seeing some things, maybe a family member is starting to forget things, there's a little bit of a hallucination kind of thing going on, little tiny hints, you may want to get help. And remember, please, that you are not alone because it can be overwhelming. Alzheimer's disease is something that I think is in many lives for people that they don't know it's there, and it creeps up on you until it completely overtakes you. That's why it can be overwhelming, and there is a stigma. People hide away from it. They don't want to know. Don't want people to know that their family is going through this. But you need help and support. And that is why the Alzheimer's Association is there.
I'm sure there are a lot of folks out there watching who are personally impacted by this disease, and you've already touched on it a little bit, but what kind of help and resources are available to them?
The Alzheimer's Association can help in a myriad number of ways. Just look up ALZ.org. ALZ.org. It's a wealth of information. And as you know, with esports, information, knowledge is power. And it gives the power back to you that gets stolen by Alzheimer's. Take the power back. Fight for your family. Go to ALZ.org. Go to 800-272-3900. Find some help. And if you want to find your local chapter, go to ALZ.org/find us. Because Alzheimer's Association is out there. Alzheimer's Association is ready. Alzheimer's may think that it is the big final boss, but you know what? We're going to take it down.
My final question for you before we go, if you had to give, one short message to anybody who is just starting to jump into this, maybe they have just been diagnosed with Alzheimer's or they've just have had a family member diagnosed, what would be your message to them?
My message is to live every minute, every day. Live while you still are who you are. While you still have your memories, live, love, do the things that you want to do. For those of you who have someone who you're slowly losing to Alzheimer's, remember who they are, love them, even through whether their personality starts to change or temperament starts to change. You hold the memories and keep them as they always were in your heart. And you fight. You drop the gloves on Alzheimer's disease and you fight this so that nobody in the future has to go through what we have gone through.
Wes, I greatly appreciate your insight and your passion. I thank you so much for talking with us today, and just want to remind all the folks again, ALZ.org as well as 1-800-272-3900. Get involved, and thank you so much, Wes.
Keep up the good fight, everybody, everywhere.
We have made our glorious return after the halftime break, and T-Squared, it is just in time for us to prepare everyone for the move onto Stormpoint. We talked up and down last game about how it was the final time these teams would have the opportunity to strut their stuff on World's Edge. But I'm going to toss this to you because you know this game the best, inside and out. T-Squared, what changes when we move to Stormpoint?
Well, the players that we're watching on our screen are the people that know the game the best, so let's learn from them. But
that's true.
In terms of what changes, everything, realistically. I mean, the basics of Apex are still going to be there. Your shooting, your communication, how you rotate, etc. But this allows for different compositions, and we're most likely going to see that. But it also allows our players a time just to breathe and make adjustments. Find out what's going wrong, find out where they're falling short, and say, hey, what can we change, even though the map's changing, individually, as a team, that's going to really make us step up here. Now, there's going to be different POIs, obviously. It's going to be a completely different looting rotation in terms of where you're going to go and pick and choose your priority positions. That's going to change as well. But one of the things that I love that doesn't really get talked about enough is that, say that you're a newer team, say you're FaZe, right? Or say that you were a team that came out and, you know, kind of was put together right around that Stormpoint came out. That's a big advantage for your team because there's teams that have been together, at least the foundation of their squads have been together for the entirety of World's Edge. Now, one of those teams would have been, say, TSM, and they didn't have the best World's Edge. But I think the most important thing is that you get a nice little 10-minute break right there. Let's talk about that interview and how great that was as well to end Alzheimer's. Really great job by Yeso and Esports Arena putting that together. But it's just a nice time to make adjustments, and these pro players are masters of making adjustments.
It's true, and like you talked about, that communication, it coming all back to the fundamentals, really has tested a lot of teams and how efficiently they can coordinate, especially on a fast-moving map like Stormpoint, when it is so much more important to be able to be on the move and to very quickly make your way through temporary Bangalore smoke, through just a little bit of cover, a squad being slightly distracted, because there isn't that much building area to play here. Yes, the buildings exist, and we'll see a lot of squads prioritize them, but your ability instead to be able to play small bits of cover, to flex between a rock and a cliffside, and perhaps even the corner of a building more than anything, is really important to balance for all of these teams. And it's something that we see so poorly translated, I'll say, from Stormpoint, where a lot of teams do get into the habit of claiming a building more than an area. We are going to be right back in just a moment. We do want to make sure that all our players get into the lobby, and so, much like in Game 1, we'll be back with Game number 4. Welcome back to Series E. Thank you so much for holding. It's Dia and T Squared right back with game number 4, our first game on Storm Point of the day. And since we've got the time to talk about it, everybody's just dropped into the game. No 50-50s just yet, it seems, but I may have spoken too soon as Aegon get taken down by ESA in cold blood both times on both maps. ESA landing contested, T Squared.
A great point. Just was about to say that, and you hit the nail right on the head. Also, taking a look at the loot coming in from the guard, Love the setup coming in from each one of their players. You always have to have a good mix of mid-range, close range, and long range. They have all of that. You need to contain people with your poke damage. Let's take a look at the zone and the mini-map. You can see it heavily favoring Command Center. That's where 100 Thieves is going to love to see what their setup is going to look like. Dark Zero as well. Sharky, he's going to get out of Stormcatcher very soon and make their way on over towards Zero and Jen Burton. You can see the guard may end up meeting up with Complexity over here, and then a potential third party coming in from C9 and Liquid from the northern side.
That'd be a really fun fight to watch. I don't see any shots fired just yet, but I love that you brought up the weapon choice as well, because it's going to mean so much during these small engagements. A lot of long range is going to be really rewarded in endgame zones, of course, when if we do pull up to that height, you have the opportunity to just take entire squads out with the 30-30. But if the guard runs into a team right here, right now, having that little bit of extra short range, those SMGs, is going to be really useful. You know there's a squad above you now. You know that you've already got a knock, as TL have managed to do that one for you. Lux is down, and Complexity going to try and reset here as they get pushed by the guard with RKN coming up right behind. He plays spooky, scary, and he gets jumped on just as quickly. Monsoon taking him out and popping the bat around the corner. Doesn't quite finish it, but with Keon on the chase, it's burned crucial time for the guard. Our res has certainly gone up on the high ground, and the guard are going to have to pull off one of their own.
It's a gold knock res though, and I don't think they're going to be prepared for this on the Complexity side. Shiny's fairly weak. You can see the damage coming through from the guard. The nade doesn't connect. The wall goes down. A great effort from Complexity, but the guard, especially with that gold knockdown, it's very rare that you see the gold knockdown in competitive play, but right there, it works wonders to get that shield back up so you can reset as fast as possible. Also, can we talk about how fast Monsoon was right there, looking like Sonic the Hedgehog with his red and white Nikes on?
I know, I was looking at that going, yeah, RKN, he totally got the advantage, and Monsoon, I mean, not only managed to slide right by him and take him out with the Mastiff, but then somehow found himself on the other side of the building, and honestly, if he got that bat off, may very well have taken another 1v1. You cannot underrate Complexity players, especially Monsoon, who has been, well, so well appreciated for so long by the community. While TSM are trying to make their way into zone, they are going to encounter Team Liquid, who did get one of those KP, I believe. No, they got the initial knock onto the low ground fight with the guard, but didn't end up finishing the kill. As TSM take their previous spot, they'll also be in a position to be able to fire down onto the guard, but more than likely are going to make their way a little further into zone, as this isn't exactly their preferred position just yet.
And I'm just so proud that we have Series E every single week and have our pro nights every single Wednesday, because there's times where you'll be on Twitter and you'll see lack of scrims happening, etc., and you see the best of the best teams in here. And even TSM, as strong as their team may be, find themselves having 3 bad World's Edge performances, and it's an opportunity for them to adjust and grow with the meta. It makes you wonder, are they going to continue to use Fuse? What were the issues that they ran into? Are they going to adopt a different playstyle? You know that they could play a handful of different legends. Hal loves playing on Horizon. We know that Verholst is a Valkyrie main. What's going to be the legend coming in for reps going forward? Are we going to see him ever switch to anything like Watson? Is he going to play a defensive character? Will Gibby come back? Great shots there from Yanya with the scout from LG, and we've seen some amazing plays from LG so far. Surprisingly, they're only in 10th place with 17 points.
I can hear Nicewig's disgust from here after those shots with the G7. Yanya does get a nice little bit of damage up, but with purple shields already, maybe it's time for what we talked about a little bit earlier. I believe it was also in Game 1, where we talked about swapping out shields so that you're able to level them up for not just yourself, but your teammates as well. Jaguaras notably sitting on a blue shield right now, with Yanya having that extra little bit of range to perhaps help out his teammate in that way. The nice benefit of LG's spot is that they're able to back right off. They're going to grab the beacon in the meantime on this high ground to get more advanced notice on where this zone is going, and they've got the replicator to make use of as well. So a really good position holistically from this team, and for a lot of our teams who have managed to play a very slow game so far.
Stormpoint typically plays a little bit slower. There's always a lot more area. You ask what the difference is between World's Edge and Stormpoint. well, there's a lot of areas to go and kind of hide in, a lot of rocks, a lot of tree cover happening overall, and you can see how many teams coexisting on over towards this next zone. ESA all the way over towards the northwest, FaZe coming in from that northern side. Even they're going to have a building to go and play with on the edge, but a majority of those squads have already picked and chose which spots they want to be. You saw the early rotation coming in from Dark Zero. They're going to go and pick that east side of the zone. C9 makes their way in there, and it looks like we got a drone race with the amount of cryptos now that are inside of our lobbies. Intel trying to find their way into the zone, maybe footing it. Scans coming in from Icy left and right. Doesn't really pick up anything on the heart sensor, but there is a team now making their way forward. It's going to be Tripods. They don't recognize the armor situation, so Jet needs to be careful. He recognizes, I have the high ground here, but if they show their cards and if they showcase exactly what the armor situation is going to be, they may get full sent on.
I believe G2 have intel coming down to them. They would have seen this squad right ahead. Chaotic able to pop that medkit just in time, but they're playing things slow for right now, not wanting to take a fight, of course, when they are at this much of a health disadvantage. Right back into the Trident they go, and I do wonder whether Intel will be able to take a chunk out of them by really throwing their fire into that Trident, as so often happens to get entry frags. Now, while FaZe try and hold on to this roof in the meantime, they've given up a lot of ground. It's up to Slurp to reclaim it. The wingman not quite connecting and actually costing him in the shield cell department, getting cracked as Aberlily does the same thing. This is the end of FaZe, surely, as they've already lost one, and the squad is not looking good right now with Snipe down, yes, finding good damage. It is not going to be enough. Aberlily jumps down onto that low ground, and that's it for FaZe. This last member, the only thing keeping them with the chance of picking up even placement points.
Tough break there from FaZe, but I love seeing the diversity again in Aberlily's legend pool going with Bangalore here. Bangalore definitely viable in these type of situations, but now DZ is on the hunt. Zero has a member in front of him. It's going to be the last player on Sentinels. It's going to be Panders going down to the R301 coming in from Jen Burton. So that early rotation in the zone pool really paying off for Dark Zero. Not electing to go for the middle of the zone, say like 100 Thieves, but picking a spot where they know teams are going to rotate in, where they can find and locate kills and find those extra points.
Like I said earlier, T-Squared, the game is second nature to you. As soon as you saw the way the zone was pulling, you had called out specifically that Dark Zone were going to rotate up here because of exactly that. The fact that you have so much KP that you're able to pick up, just now finishing off a little bit extra as Dark Zero not only have a great position on height, but plenty of loot to make use of as well. Their one concern really does have to be the fact that the zone is going to pull a little bit further to the south. But given the fact that they've got a position like this, I wouldn't even mind sending another person out to maybe get a beacon scan and really be able to predict where zone's going in much the same way that C9 will be able to by making use of Zach's own drone.
I mean, honestly, Zach was one with the rock right there. He's feeling very spiritual. He must have went on a nice hike beforehand throughout all of here, and he even has the matching skin to blend in with the rock. Some next level pay-to-win stuff using the default crypto skin right there. But G2 now, all jokes aside, is getting busy. Resulta is going to still continue to play on the Bangalore. Chaotic on the horizon. Designful. We all know what Bloodhound in the Ultimate does for the smoke to be able to see throughout all of that, plus hitting the scans. They're going to drop LG in 17th place. So unfortunate for LG. They most likely will be sitting outside of the top 10. Keep in mind, 6th place was DZ with 21 points. 17 points is what LG had. So the difference in margin for error right now is slim to none.
Now, Resulta, doing a really good job of playing anchor for the team, is at least keeping those margins as thick as possible when it comes to G2 trying to make up for points. They are not giving up single members here because of those smokes from the Bangalore that ended up avoiding the entirety of a third party. You have no data on G2. You just know that another squad has dropped. And for that reason, and that reason alone, G2 are able to reset so cleanly without pressure from anyone else. It's what'll keep them expanding that difference between them and other teams. But Design does need to make his way up here eventually. Does have a zip line right ahead and isn't even going to use it. He's got, I guess, plenty of time in his mind.
These players have everything timed out to a T, just like you saw Chaotic using the med kit at the very last second in Sliver to get the maximum out of all of the healing. Looks like ZZ is going to get interested now. They're going to continue to push up. Smokes happen from Sharky to try to advance a little bit forward. Jen Burton looks like he's interested in getting rid of these Watson fences here very shortly, but you can see from the player outlines, that team has scooted down, and the charge rifles coming from across the map are helping whatever team this is.
It's got to be C9 on the other side of this. Yeah, the Crypto with white
Nice
shields.
shots.
That sounds like what we saw earlier. Zach gets taken down from long range, but even had he survived, it was still going to be death for C9 as they walk right into TSM, giving up 2 kills to them and 1 to Dark Zero. As C9 get taken out, so do FaZe, and it's just these 2 squads, Dark Zero and TSM, that are sitting up on the hill, and maybe TSM not for too much longer. Verhulst getting shredded, getting taken down by Sharky, and this could be a push from Dark Zero.
Potentially, because they know they've already cleared out one of the teams, and that was C9, the immediate res from Hal. Now the push coming from across the map, but remember that pesky charge rifle that was happening on over towards the side. Meanwhile, in your kill feed, Saucer going to get the Arc Star knock. FA get involved on G2. CLG, they've had a quiet day so far to be in 5th place. We haven't seen much of their points of views, but they're still in there. And they have the Catalyst in the back pocket here for Mamba. I'm excited to see how Catalyst is going to work in competitive play.
Keon bringing it up in the kill feed, is able to pick up a couple members of 100 Thieves. The CLG sitting right behind here, dissuade the push from Dark Zero, and it's a good call from Dark Zero to back off because of this. Surely someone having spotted the fact that CLG are in fact up here, and you know it's CLG because they're, again, the only people that are really running Catalyst on the storm point of all maps. They've decided this is the move, and honestly, CLG has made this look good, able to separate out fights, especially in the end game with that Veil, and make sure that no one else is pushing into third party.
And if you can get this Catalyst into the end game, it's huge, because the wall, even though it's had its issues and it's still going through some minor updates and changes to try to counter all of the scans that get stopped through the wall, it still cuts the zone in half when Zone 6 is closing. So that's something to keep in mind as we see another fight taking place between 2 of our partnered teams. It's going to be ESA in 4th place going up against Razor. Razor gets third-partied from behind. Seer Ultimate barely avoiding Phony as he's got that gold helmet, trying to avoid another scan but not able to do so, and you know this is going to be a full set around the corner. ESA getting eliminated. It's going to be Intel in combination with Tripods to drop them, and you can see the positioning coming in from Intel is so strong right here. They're going to be rewarded with a lot of loot. But round 3 closing, we're going to show where round 4 is here very soon, a majority of this still being owned by the Mountain as well.
Icy takes a little bit of a risk dropping down with Liquid right above you. You can't afford to take too many missteps. You can't afford to overextend. As G2 continue to show up in the kill feed, they're playing things relatively slow for now, but have managed to have an active role in all of the surrounding fights, even picking up the last member of Mike and Ike and eliminating yet another squad. We're into the top 11 now, and it's just Chaotic that's doing it, evidently. It's a one-man army down here that's collected at least 3 kills in the past minute for his squad.
Dude is a monster overall, and you love to watch him with the R301, especially with that 2-4. We know he is one of our top ranked players coming on overseas to join this G2 squad, replacing Gentrify. Such hard shoes to fill, but he's done a great job so far today. 2nd place, 37 points, winners of game number 1, trying to make some big things happen, and that's the shots that you love to see. Can he take on an entire team on the roof? I'm not quite sure, but he's darn close to.
Oh my god, he gets the knock! Chaotic is just built different as he's able to outmaneuver not 1, but 2 squads, a 1v2 and a 1v3 back-to-back, and he's still alive, and he got the knock. He's even dropping back down onto the low ground saying, come on guys, push me again.
Who needs teammates? Designful, Resulta, sit back and watch the master at work. This is the reason that you picked this man up. Switching on over to the car, a one-man wrecking crew. Gets the knock onto Icy, trying to find more damage. And at this point, if you're Intel, you're shaking in your boots. Nades aren't going to stop him. The only one that's going to stop him is multiple teams dropping in on him, and it looks like he's coming around the corner. Is he going to pull off another 2v1? Chaotic, you're a monster.
He's actually he got the crack already. He could easily get a knock. Chaotic could
No.
win this entire squad. There's no way that he's about to do it. Coming around the corner right now. He is playing things slow and careful. Bat's going up, and he's got to send it onto the knockdown shield. Doesn't get the thirst, but goddamn, that was close. T-squared.
Holy cow. If you're not fired up after watching that, you don't love Apex. I know his teammates are going absolutely nutty. Almost 1v3ing an entire pro team right there. Intel's game basically griefed by a single member, and now the charge rifles are coming in, and it's just not looking good for this Intel squad.
They couldn't even get Icy back up. They're barely in zone. If not for the fact that Dark Zero were fighting on this high ground, they might be the sole focus as 100 Thieves do get taken out before Intel mercifully, but there we go. TL are able to pick up that final knock. No, it's Tripods that get it. But even so, a squad eliminated is one that they won't be contending with in the late game. Dark Zero trying to play back in these knockdown shields. Jen Burton taking quite a bit of damage and scanned as well as TSM come around the side, taking vengeance for what Dark Zero did to Verhulst earlier. TSM protect their lads.
I'm still freaking out over Chaotic, I'm not going to lie. TSM, they're pushing up. I think we have to focus on the game here, Dia, because they have TSM now with a horrible performance on World's Edge, coming back and potentially winning this game, but Hal gets knocked. Verhulst and Reps, the last two members alive. There goes Team Liquid. The res coming in onto Hal, but the guard smells blood in the water.
And they're going to be able to, almost find a knock, I'd imagine, but weren't quite able to pick it up just then. The guard are playing from low ground, but they're playing with a health advantage. RKN gets shredded, and the shield swap not on that box, as TSM had already used it. They force guard back onto the low ground. TSM, with the reset of a lifetime there, have somehow managed to hang on to this high ground, have height, have everything in the final two squads. Guard could pick up their second win here. TSM could pick up their first of the day, what has already been a very difficult 3 games on World's Edge. Verhulst peeks right back, gets just a little bit of damage, but it isn't enough. It's not a fair trade, and TSM are taking the worst end of it. They've got more death boxes, they've got so many more resources, but the guard have that crypto, and if they have EMP, they may just be able to crack all of TSM, pushing in with that slow, but not in the face of beams like that.
Great shots there, great reset coming in from TSM. What a turnaround in performances. Yeah, you asked the question, what changes from World's Edge on over to Stormpoint? You give TSM an opportunity to make some adjustments. This is what you're going to get. It's a completely different beast throughout all of this. 3 red boxes, but all empty armor swaps right there. And now you're going to see Hal potentially doing some amazing Horizon plays. Do they have any Arc Stars throughout all of that? Checking the boxes and seeing if they could find any more loot, any extra grenades, but while that's happening, it's buying even more time for RKN to potentially hit an EMP.
This is exactly what it's coming down to, a game of cooldowns, and with the guard already having a second pylon up, they're actually going to get pushed right now. Keon gets shredded, and it's the swing from TSM that decimates guard. Our defensive squad, caught with their pants down on Stormpoint, are taken out by TSM in the final 3v3. It was tense. It was so scary, as this entire game was T-squared. But in the end, what a satisfying push from TSM to pick up their first win of the day.
Not enough time to get that EMP off, and TSM comes through and punishes them. Just great shots right there, great discipline. And unfortunately, RKN just did not have enough time to get his ultimate in place. By the time that he hits that EMP, both of his teammates are down, and he's basically just slowing himself to a slow death. TSM turning it around with a big game number 4, our first on Stormpoint.
Just great finish from them, and really nice control of the height as well. I know we illustrated this earlier, but against Dark Zero with CLG at their backs, it cannot have been easy to hold on to all of that. And we know now the benefits that come with that. We've seen it play out in so many games across Stormpoint, but being able to play from height when you're able to be patient really does reward you. And though we didn't get to see Dark Zero in those end game zones, we still do know that they picked up a great amount of KP on their way in, and were able to ultimately maybe contest TSM.
And a little bit of a head scratching happening today for 100 Thieves. don't want to take anything away from TSM, but when you look at the home court advantage that 100 Thieves had with the zone pulling over towards them, you wonder, where were they? How did they get taken out? A lot of great storylines right there between TSM making a great comeback, picking up 23 points right there, and also Chaotic, the one-man wrecking crew, Dia.
Oh, Chaotic. Yeah, I know. It's funny because we just got to see the champion screen. We know how well TSM did, 1,500 damage each on average, but Chaotic is really what's sticking with me about Game 4. To see if anyone can unseat that legacy, we're going to hear from Yeso before Game 5.
What a win there from TSM. I gotta take a seat, catch my breath here, folks, as we get ready for our final 2 games of the day. TSM, much like we talked about Dark Zero in game number 3, with pretty rough start to the day, not getting a whole lot done in the first half. Dark Zero with a good performance in Game 3 as well as Game 4, and TSM showing up with a very strong performance here in our 4th game of the day. They do grab the win. They wipe out the guard there at the end, and they just dominated the high ground on this hill and did a good job, too, of making sure that they maintained good sight lines and kept teams from being able to really heavily pressure them throughout those later circles. And it just meant that they get into that final circle, that 3v3 versus the guard, in just a very healthy and strong position, and they used it to grab a very solid win here. A lot of good highlights from this game. Probably one of the best was watching Chaotic there for G2 in the 1v3 versus Intel. Unfortunately, not quite able to get that second knock that really would have opened the door for Chaotic to win that fight. Was really hoping for it. A lot of great beams with the R301 in that fight to put so much pressure on Intel. Intel just getting by the skin of their teeth in that fight, and they ultimately take down Chaotic. But that was really impressive play there from Chaotic, and I mean, Dia put it perfectly. The one-man wrecking crew there in that one. Keep an eye out for G2 because they've looked really good so far today. Let's jump, though, into our Mobile One high-performance moment here for Game 4, our first on Stormpoint for the day. And it's a peek here at TSM just a little bit earlier before we finished off this game. Tripods and Tyson going out, and TSM goes in for the push here onto Team Liquid. Another big contender here tonight that TSM is still going to have to make up some ground with. But just good, coordinated team fire here from TSM to get this pressure onto Liquid. And they're so decisive in the fight that while the guard are on their way, they don't get there quickly enough, and just enough cover there for TSM for them to be able to get the res through, back away, and just open up enough room for them to be in a strong position to respond to the guard here. And they, of course, then end up being able to get the full reset. They go in for the push, they take out the guard, and they grab the win. So well played there from TSM, and that is a huge win here going into the final 2 games, because as I said, we've got some ground to make up. Let's take a look at our Mobile One leaderboard to see how much they have to make up. Big performance from them, up to 29 points, few points there behind Team Esports Arena. The guard's still out in first place there with 49 points, 1 ahead of Liquid thanks to their performance here in this one. But it's going to be an exciting run to the finish. First, all the way through, I would even say 7th in the running here. It's going to be difficult for TSM, Dark Zero, and CLG to make that push with just 2 games remaining, but it is certainly possible. But they're going to need some help. They're going to need some teams to take out the guard, Liquid, and G2 early in these games to open up the door. G2 also needs to keep that whole squad alive, because while Chaotic can make some magic happen in those 1v3s, it's going to be a lot scarier if that full squad is available there for G2, but they are in a good spot going into game number 5. We're going to head to a quick break right now. When we come back, Dia and T Squared will have all their thoughts as we get ready for game number 5 here at Series E.
Series E has been a banger today, and it's going to continue with, as EA so illustrated, our final 2 games and the final 2 opportunities for these teams to pick up points. Both of them will be on Storm Point, though, and T-Squared, we just got a taste of that action. Here's to hoping that the G2 squad can stay alive to the end game next time, because you have a power like Chaotic on your team. Just throw them at people.
I think that G2 is going to be stoked after watching that, but we have to talk about TSM because that fight going up against Guard, who is having themselves a day, wasn't even close. All right, let's just call it how we see it. The Guard, again, they did not have the advantage in terms of high ground, but TSM was getting third party originally. They reset. It was a great heavyweight boxing match between these two teams, but TSM got their confidence back, and you love to go and see it. Makes you again wonder what's going on in World's Edge. Is it going to be reps on Fuse? I don't think so. I just think that Seer is so strong right now in this meta. We may see them change it up and go back to Valk, Horizon, and Seer. Granted, they have had success in the past, but the value of Seer throughout all of that, again, between stopping heals in these skirmishes, the ultimate has a very low cooldown. So many great plays are allowed through both of those legends. I don't know if it was a legend thing, whether it was the time that they took in between, but one thing's for sure, they dominated that final fight.
It really did, and they didn't even, I think, have to use as many resources as they planned for because they were able to work together so effectively. TSM both, again, swinging that wide corner. I believe it was Verhulst and Reps that initially found the knock onto Keon, and once you have a numbers advantage and height to work with as well, things really do play themselves out from the TSM perspective, especially when you're in a close range fight with that. And we know that they've got some controller demons on their team. It isn't just the Guard as much as we'd like to pretend that it is. There's a lot of talent on both sides, and so once you really do get that first knock and you have high ground, it becomes a textbook closeout. We're going to get the chance to tune in with them once we hit Game 5 after a short break. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Storm Point here in our final game at Series E. The first day of our Pro Nights is going to be stopping after 5 games today due to some of the issues that we're having with the server on the back end. While those have been sorted out, we are, of course, being mindful of our players' time, are going to be cutting this last game and making it so that this 5th game is the last opportunity for these teams to pick up points. So, if your favorites are doing poorly, give them their energy right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's the final game here, and TSM going from worst to first almost. 5th place, they're feeling it after that, and their shots have been on point. It's just a little bit unlucky in terms of the decision making. You saw in World's Edge they have a little bit of miscommunication on the fight that was happening over towards the fence and thermal station, but when it comes to Storm Point, they are exactly that. They are on point.
And that's been really a nice, refreshing thing for TSM. It may even have to do with the way that they're able to rotate in. We think about the way they were able to approach last zone from height, and that looked really good for them. Even now, firing down onto C9, it's TSM that's in charge right now, starting on edge and being able to work their way in through these really short paths that they've got into center zone. They've actually claimed height. Well, we know, and C9 knows, that this zone is pulling, wow, over towards wall, and it's not just that people are thinking, oh, well, it includes wall. Everybody apparently thinks that wall is where we are ending, because 100 Thieves and C9 have sent themselves here instantly.
100 Thieves looking like they want to have a bounce back performance here, and it's exactly what they need. The last place you would expect them to be in is in 20th place with 5 points. They could sneeze and get 5 points typically, but this is 1000% going to be one of these wall endings. Exciting to see. Typically kind of ends out in the middle of these bridges over here. I'm not the best at predicting exactly where these Storm Point zones are going to go, so if we can get some data miners in the chat, send me some maps, let me know what's up.
Yeah, just give us a little point as to where it's going, and we'll cast it from there. Now, since we've already got so many teams piled up in wall, I think it's fair to say that it's a favored end zone. It's also something worth noting that if this zone, for some reason, doesn't pull towards wall, we're going to get a lot of people dying very, very quickly, because when you do create traffic jams like this, it does mean that nobody can really move without being taken out by all the surrounding teams, and they all know that popping into a position like this. Sitting on the outside, it will be TL that get to watch the shenanigans happen, again, if the zone pulls away, but there are plenty of teams around the outside of even Zone 2 that have yet to find their way into safety as the storm starts to close in, and CLG notably are making their 2nd late rotation in a row. When we started on Storm Point last season, it was CLG that actually were the most proactive, picking up a trident, moving themselves all the way around the eastern side of the map. But take a look at how their playstyle has evolved, given 365 days time. We are here where they're playing a very slow rotation, where they're intentionally tanking zone, and I'm curious how it'll work out for them.
Love watching Storm Point because you get so much action in the mid-game, Dia. All the teams safely finding the edge of zone, and the other teams are going to be working their way on over towards the middle. Great job by Orioles using his passive there to find the heat seek through the walls, and nice shots with the 1-2. Not the best scope for the scout, but definitely better than the iron sights.
Seems to be doing just enough right now. Does get smoked out, so it'll be a little bit harder to find these angles, but with some nice high ground, you can fix that problem. It's FaZe that they're going to be going up against, and with a gold turboed up Devo for Abraleli, I'd be hesitant about making this anything other than a long-range fight, because FaZe can and will chew through you with that. Now, since they've got things like the Rolling Thunder to open up some space as well, it is a matter of when they choose to press the go button, because FaZe do have the opportunity to close ground very quickly. Rings closing, they're inside, they're safe, but they sure would like that beacon.
Beacon's going to be huge for them if they could go and find that one. It's going to be an absolute bloodbath over on this side. The wingman shots connecting for Abraleli. I believe that purple mag, that purple sniper mag, is in the crafter currently, so that's going to be putting in some serious work for our wingman players today.
not even a skull piercer on that as well. So we know white helmets on the other side of this. FaZe with that data, with that chunk, push up, but they get taken down just as quickly. The Prowler from Orioles taken down, sniped down, as Slurp's now got to play cover with the wingman. Aegon are pushing up now. Confident, inspired, and with seer scans, it should be a matter of time before they find another knock. Turns actually taking this 1v1 that was way far off in his favor. Down on the low ground, claims a second kill, and it's just as ESA show up for the third party. So a nice way to evade actually being in the crosshairs of Esports Arena. Instantly, Aegon take to the low ground and seem to have played this pretty safe for right now. Charge Rifle not quite connecting for a whole lot of damage, and Esports Arena, we're just a little too slow on this rotation.
And that's something that you end up getting punished for, just like Slurp ends up getting dropped over here. It's going to be up to Snipe Down and Albrily. Snipe Down, unfortunately, he's going to be caught out, and Phony with the Charge Rifle puts in some serious work. Albrily, it's all up to you. You're not on Crypto this time. Let's see what you have in store for us with the Bangalore. It's a tough task to go up against 3 players at once. And that wasn't a chaotic situation. That was just ESA running directly at them.
I was so excited for the Devo as well. You know, you see them all coming up the stairs. The dream is there for Abraleli, but just not enough numbers. And FaZe getting a little bit too greedy on their positioning, whatever it may have been, are now shut out of, as a reminder, our final game of the night. Esports Arena have the beacon, have the crafter, have a minute left and plenty of time to make use of whatever resources they want that they just gathered here before making their way into a zone that, granted, is going to pull them significantly further north.
Scans coming in from Phony all over the place. Amu's already been eliminated, and the day for 100 Thieves continues to get a little bit worse. Multiple players are going to go and pressure over towards the side. Nice job by Vaxlon getting out of there, and that was Dark Zero taking on their position. But it's a tough break. You have a defensive type of composition for your team, and you're just not able to play defense.
Especially when you're getting scanned out by Seer, it feels impossible to really be able to deal with this legend who now knows that there are only 2 people on your team. The only way to really take down Dark Zero at this point would be to just outfight them. And for, again, our 2-time world champions, it's going to be really difficult to outshoot your guns at the professional level. Jen Burton up on height, has a great angle to drop down on, and does end up making this a 3 versus 1 to take out the second member of 100 Thieves, Vaxlon, who bites the dust in front of us. And G2 starts showing up in the kill feed as well, picking up a few knocks as 100 Thieves go out to Complexity this time. So maybe, just maybe, we could get a Complexity fight breaking out now. Dark Zero actually backing off, really careful of taking that engagement.
Yeah, Monsoon almost smelling those players through the Bangalore smoke there as the looting was taking place. They knew exactly where those death boxes were going to be. Capra doesn't need the Kraber to put in serious damage this time around. It's the Scout with the gold mag and the 3x. You have to pop a battery. You can see the ultimate is going to go down. Looted now taking on over towards the skies as they're going and pushing on this team. And it's Designful down, Chaotic down, Resulta the last one. And that's going to result in a 16th place for G2, winning game number 1, but unfortunately they're going to have to watch from the bench in game number 5.
I feel like I've criminally underestimated Esports Arena this split, because given the fact that we're seeing so many highlights from them today, they're taking down top-tier teams like peak Apex Legends squads, and they're making it look very simple even in these 3v3s. The fact that G2 lose that when Chaotic was so confidently pushing up, the Chaotic that we saw almost single-handedly take down a squad last game, speaks volumes about the caliber of Esports Arena, the way that they're able to coordinate and keep each other safe in the face of what looks like impossible situations. And speaking of impossible situations, we may have one coming up pretty soon for FA. We're currently trapped on the outside of the zone. The concern now isn't where they are right at the moment, it's where they're going to have to be in the next minute to 5 minutes as this zone continues to push them in. And while they've got a few rocks, there's really not a whole lot of cover for them to play.
Yeah, not much, especially if you consider a Horizon ult that could come around the corner. Now Fun, he's going to bust out the fuse. And it looks like they're going to be in a pretty decent position overall, as I love watching Complexity just running around. Monsoon always up to no good. This time he's got the Massive in his back pocket again. The damage going on to Lux, but it was traded right back out with the R301 coming in from Monsoon, and Shiny not realizing another player was around the corner. They're going to have to back off from this one and play around that wall. Really nice job from Complexity, just kind of baiting and switching with each other to try to lay down max damage and start something. And they do get something. It's Jen Burton, the knock with the scout there coming through. Smoke's coming through as well, but the shot's just ripping through for Shiny.
That's the second knock that they have, too. Having played this fight with Dark Zero so patiently, this actually should be Dark Zero leaving us. We're in the top 15. Everyone's collected one placement point, but the way that Complexity are playing right now makes this look a lot less like Apex and a lot more like chess, as they just out-angle and methodically are taking pieces away from Dark Zero. While ESA on the same map, on the opposite side of it, are doing a very similar thing to Luminosity. Complexity back off once again, and Dark Zero do get left to recoup everything, maybe getting back into the game, as Aegon came up right behind this fight and dissuaded the Full Thirsts.
Our former Team Nerf, now Team Aegon. Love watching Turns play. Definitely one of the all-time vets that we have in Apex. Took a break, came back, been playing with Force for quite some time. I know he wanted me to call him Forcey. A lot of times he comes in and says, guys, will you please butcher my name and continue to call me Forcey?
He wishes. He wishes. You can't control. We're like wild animals.
Yeah, we're unpredictable.
Apex?
We're as unpredictable as Monsoon's point of view.
That's absolutely true. And hey, we could see some more, well, unpredictable scenarios unfolding here as Tripods look to be getting aggressive on what we know was TSM's former spot. Who the squad is in front of them, we are soon to discover, as that is TSM. Imperial Hal getting taken down there, but not fully turned into a box. So there is still a member of TSM up and available, as CLG are going to be losing one of their own. Prowler from the high ground coming out of Mamba does mean if shield swap gets forged, and they're able to just barely take out Tripods in the nick of time. Burholst, meanwhile, picking up a kill of their own and still alive in here, despite the fact that they are surrounded by members of CLG. Hal crawling over and may still be resable. Reps, unfortunately, has turned into a box for now, but this res is going to go off, and I don't see anyone pushing this just yet. It's going to be coming in a little bit late, as Burholst does take the 1v2, finding the crack, but not allowing anything that Imperial Hal could follow up on. Instead, coming around the back, he does find that extra bit of damage. He's taking this fight with 10 HP! 10 HP T-squared, and Hal is still somehow making this close.
They may have helped him out by giving him an armor swap there for free. He needs all the meds that he possibly could get. Unfortunately, you can see no batteries, no major meds in terms of health meds. Has that gold mag wingman reloading in his back pocket, but what an absolute monster Hal is, putting on an individual clinic right now.
Moby coming up on top, so Hal knows he has to push. Unfortunately, it was the master plan from CLG that caught him. No win scenario there. A checkmate onto Hal and TSM as they're taking it out in 11th place. CLG getting their third right back into the game, and with no further contest coming from the north either. They took out TSM, they took out Tripods. What they've really got to do now is fire down onto the squads that would otherwise approach, and that is a much easier task to be able to manage. CLG doing it really well for the moment, with plenty, again, of loot still around. Nano's actually even going to be able to collect his own death box before this squad is ultimately forced to make their way over into wall. That is not looking super welcoming right now.
CLG definitely in contention for first place if they can continue to put in some extra kill points. They're going to obviously be trying to catch up to G2, who was eliminated early, so that team is definitely out. A couple other squads directly ahead of them, like Team Liquid. CLG, though, again, with a very quiet 5th place, if that's ever such a thing. Flying low on the radar, using that catalyst to perfection so far. That's going to be multiple knocks happening in that kill feed. FA going out, the fill-ins for NRG. Doing a great job today, but unfortunately they are gone. Guard is another team that is ahead of CLG, but they're continuing to pick up kills in the kill feed, and it makes you wonder, are we going to see another top performance from the Guard?
CLG appropriately spotting out where their biggest threats are right now. With Tyson sitting up on this high ground, yes, it's a 2-man squad, but CLG do still have to be wary of them, as we have seen squads with much bigger numbers discrepancies be taken out by but a single person. As Guard continue to collect recon data everywhere else, it's RKN sitting in the drone that's going to be able to provide them the end game plan, and it's going to have to be one heck of a plan because they don't have an easy relocation into Wall. It's got to be a game of distracting teams with other squads, and with only 7 squads left, that is a really difficult thing to do. Even CLG right now having a little bit of trouble as to what their approach will be, and Guard evidently playing no games, jump right on up, using their Valk ult early to get a little bit of scouting. You gotta hope that pays off.
That was smart. I like that idea. They're going to find out where all the teams are. You asked for data, now you're getting data. We also have the data miner for Dark Zero in the chat. That's PvP. Shout out to PvP. Tyson going out. They're going to find the duo on over towards the side, and Guard sitting pretty in first place with 57 points. They know TSM's out. They know CLG's chomping at their heels. Can they finish this one off? They've had such a great day so far.
It's so tough because Guard would love to take out CLG right now. 6 teams left. You need all the KP you can get. But, Nano's overextended, and suddenly that option is open to them. Frags are flying in, and Keon, even without shields, feels confident enough to push up, though the ring is closing in, and this is the risk of that fight. Even Rambo's had to swap out to just the blue shields for right now, and Guard are going to have to play the low ground around the outside of this building. So the rotation has to be as late as physically possible, and that EMP will have to buy them all the space in the world to be able to do so. 15 seconds left, a little bit less than that till Guard have to move, and I'm not hearing shots. I'm not seeing knocks on the other side. Could it be that everyone is looking at Guard as they come around this corner? RKN gonna spot it right now. They all get scanned from this building, but somehow Rambo's made it in alive. Dark Zero not pushing this yet, but Zero goes forward, and the rest of them are going to follow. RKN down, Rambo down, Guard surely going out now as 5 squads turn into 4, and 3 as Intel and Guard both fall simultaneously.
Dark Zero collapsing, having themselves a game overall. Is PvP gathering information and filtering it over from his team from the stream? That would be illegal. I don't think he's doing that. Plus, he's chatting at the same time. I'm just kidding. That's a great job from Dark Zero to collapse on that fight, using the smokes. They've really been heating up a majority of this time. Jen Burton with the R301 is just so deadly from any type of range in the map. And you can see even the flat lines from Zero connecting from long range. AOC trying to survive over towards the bottom hand side. Complexity has been dancing with death numerous times on the opposite side of the wall. And now you have a 3 versus 3 showdown for all the marbles in Game 5.
I mean, Complexity may just be regretting not taking out Dark Zero earlier when, again, remember, they outmaneuvered them, having taken down 2 for the price of nothing. And now Dark Zero stand poised to be able to take this game away. Really, it is AOC that get the biggest say in this. Who will fall first? Who will take on AOC first? Who have now been forced to relocate a little closer to Dark Zero. We know Complexity's on the push, and Monsoon, we know from the highlights that he is right on the flank right now. If Zero gets caught off guard, it could be the end. But instead, he's the one that turns around, dealing out 100 damage in the space of but a second, dipping back into the building for just that little bit of cover. Dark Zero will have to play this perfectly. They have to push AOC forward into Complexity. And right now, this Rolling Thunder may be just the thing to do it. Smokes are out. Dark Zero are managing to avoid all this fire so far. Will this Rolling Thunder get them the cracks they're looking for? I'm not seeing them. And what we do know is that AOC are right underneath Dark Zero.
It was more of a defensive bombardment type of play, right? Because he was using that just to buy time for them to go and heal. And now Jen Burton's not going to be able to heal. Eventually, there's going to be a push coming in from somewhere. Where is the weakness in DZ's armor. Complexity flanking on over towards the side. Smokes everywhere. Reloads happening for Jen Burton so he can realize, okay, I'm going to eventually run out of heavy ammo over here very shortly. They're even passing gold helmets back and forth. There's no shot of ever taking on over towards the sky over here. Everybody has to remain grounded, and eventually they are going to take the high ground. Complexity down low. Monsoon taking a ton of damage, and it's the first knock coming in for DZ. It's a 2-on-2-on-3 situation. Complexity is looking healthy again.
The fences aren't protecting them. Dark Zero, having taken this height, are now open to shots from all angles. They've lost 2, and Complexity have somehow navigated control of this. With 3 teams left, AOC still on the low ground. It's going to turn into an all-out brawl for the high as Monsoon, with that all-famous Mastiff, comes up once again, takes the fight, and Complexity gets sent to a win in the final game of the night.
That is Monsoon at his finest right there. Just a little bit of a bait and switch with his teammates taking a ton of damage. A knock happening on the opposite side. Both players from DZ not really focusing on one player. They separated, looked on both sides of those boxes. Complexity just danced around, trying to survive on that fence line. They were able to do so. And then the big slide in with the Mastiff. Monsoon always putting in work with that shotgun, but you gotta give credit again to Complexity for a heck of a game. They were over there the entire time. They were using Newcastle, using Watson, using their defensive composition to perfection throughout all of that. But you know the comms were on point. Every time they needed to go and help one another, anytime someone got weak, they were able to do that. But that's why I love Monsoon on Watson. Not a lot of these players that are playing Watson have entry fragged as hard as Monsoon has, and he's basically doing that and distracting for Shiny and Lux to come in there and assist. And that's exactly what happened at the end of that game. 9 kills overall, 21 points put it on the board for Complexity.
I mean, it really shows in their damage, and more so, T-Squared, in the way that they play. We called it out in the mid-game. Complexity playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. And even in that end game, where I thought it was going to come back to bite them, they still managed to use the threat of AOC and Dark Zero in the perfect way to navigate themselves. Looked like a very unlikely endgame win from the low ground with very little cover to work with 2 squads on either side of them. Complexity are one of the few teams that can manufacture a victory like that. And, as we illustrated, the final victory of the day. It has been an incredible day of Apex Legends here in the very first debut of Series E Season 6, and we've got plenty more to come. For more on how today wrapped up and what you can look forward to in the future, let's hear from Yeso.
Hats off to Dia and T-Squared. Great cast on the day. Unfortunate we can't get that 6th game in, but just some server issues on the back end that we couldn't, are unable to resolve on our end. So we'll cut that one off and hopefully be back to a full 6 next week. But still, a hell of a performance from so many different teams today. 5 different winners in the 5 games we played, and it's Complexity with the final win here in game number 5, and they close it out strong. And I want to give credit to Dark Zero because, as I mentioned earlier, rough start for them, really kind of came into their own in game 3 and finished really strong. And I love the play from them catching the guard on that rotation into that final circle, and a very definitive and clean fight that goes in there. And it looked like maybe they were set up for the win, right? They had seemingly the safest position going into that final close of the circle, and they get up for the high ground with a good view on Complexity. But Complexity with the pylon down and did such a good job of pressuring Dark Zero off of that angle and getting a very key knock early, to where then all of a sudden, while they don't have the high ground, they had the numbers advantage, and they did a great job with it and pushed it through to a victory. Let's take a look at our final Mobile One high performance moment here of the night. And I imagine it's going to be a look at Complexity finishing things off. So this is where Dark Zero is at, right? They've got the wall to protect them. They've got pseudo high ground over these 2 teams, and they go up for even higher. They try to get on top of Complexity, but it's the pylon and a well-placed shield there from the side of Complexity. And now all of a sudden Dark Zero getting poked at from 2 different angles, and now they're in trouble because now both Team Aegon and Complexity have sightlines here. Complexity goes up for the push, and while Luxford is down, it doesn't matter. iShiny and Monsoon do not miss. The Mastiff cleans up the final kill there, and Complexity grabs the win. So really well played from them, and it's just the well-timed and key utility usage that keeps them alive here, because you can see Jen Burton has got the angle, hits for flesh, 142 on Monsoon, but it's that clutch shield from iShiny that gives them just enough breathing room to get Dark Zero off their back, get the little bit of a reset here, and then they go in, get the knocks, and finish off the game. I mean, Monsoon even here attempting a syringe at this point, because feeling like they have just such a safe position with that shield up, and they're able to clean it up. So just so well played here from Complexity. Really impressed, because they really have to walk such a fine line there with where the other two teams are placed to ensure that they don't just get instantly beamed, and it was very close, right? If Monsoon goes down there, if Jen Burton's able to get that knock, the end game here probably completely shifts, and maybe that's a Dark Zero win, but well done from Complexity. Let's take a look, though, at our final Mobile One leaderboard here for the day. See where all of these teams finished off. The Guard take the win here with 61 points. Liquid following them up in second, and Dark Zero with their strong final 3 games jump all the way up ahead of Esports Arena for that 3rd place finish at 43 points. Do need to see some adjustments from the partnered squads. You can see Tyson, the only one of them getting into the top 10 here today. Solid performance there at 27 points, just ahead of FaZe. But Aegon by AOC, as well as Razor and Mike and Ike, need to figure things out a little bit. Intel as well. Outside of that top 10, technically Aegon tied for 10th place there with FaZe. But these are teams coming back relatively intact, right? Couple of single roster moves here and there, but these are teams that played together for the most part throughout Season 5, and they need to come in, and I would say expectations are higher. Granted, these lobbies are tough, right? This is a very high caliber lobby, tons of talent here, but if they want to compete all throughout the season, they're going to need to perform on Wednesday night. So we'll see what kind of adjustments they can make over the next week and what they bring to the table next Wednesday night. I'm certainly looking forward to it. That is going to do it for us here tonight, folks. We are all done with our first night of Series E Apex Legends Season 6. Don't forget, though, we still have stuff going on here the next 2 nights. We're kicking off the season for Series E Guilty Gear Strive tomorrow, and then, of course, the debut of Series E Multiverses on Friday night. So make sure you're here, 4 p.m. Pacific time. The next 2 days we'll be kicking off both of those incredible brackets. I'll be here to host it all, and it's going to be a blast. So if you're a big FGC fan, this is where you're going to want to be for the rest of your week. To everybody, though, who came out and watched, I hope you enjoyed the show. From myself, the entire live broadcast crew, and everybody here at Esports Arena, thank you so much for joining us here tonight, and we will see you again tomorrow.
People truly care about each other. Their hearts grow so close, you can't tell the difference between them.